All right, welcome to episode 86. Hello, Jason.
Hello, Jay.
My first overnight guest.
Yes, we're having a sleepover.
Yeah, a sleepover, adult sleepover. I'm super excited about it. Looking forward to. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Only had to twist your arm a little bit, but I'm glad you finally gave in. We'll talk more about that later, but it's fun. So we've been starting everybody off this year with an introduction. So I'm gonna give you an introduction. They always sound great. Go Everything in here I believe about you, so I just want to tell you that before I read it. Why are you laughing? I'm being dead serious.
Yes,
you don't know what I'm being serious now, which I like right now. So, as I mentioned tonight, I'm honored to sit down with U.S. Army veteran and retired Pennsylvania State. I did say what did I say?
Air Force.
I did. What did I say? That
you said Army.
I'll see it subliminally. I was trying to say that. That was actually. I can't even say it, let alone have the thing. But honored to sit down with U.S. Army U.S. Air Force veteran and retired Pennsylvania State Trooper Jason Sider. Jason was born and raised in Erie, Pennsylvania, where scouting and police explorer programs sparked his early passion for service. In 1997, he enlisted in the United States Air Force as a Security Forces Airman and went on to deploy to Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Ecuador, supporting major missions like Operation Southern Watch and Operation Northern Watch. His skills and professionalism earned him multiple expeditionary medals and the Air Force Achievement Medal. Now I'm all worried about Air Force Army now. When he left active duty, Jason continued serving in the Pennsylvania Air National Guard, including activation after 9/11, before beginning a 20-year career with the Pennsylvania State Police as a trooper, deputy fire marshal, and eventually master trooper. He worked criminal cases, fire investigations, and public safety missions across the state. Today, Jason continues to serve in a deeply meaningful way as a Save a Warrior ambassador and lead shepherd in training. Dedicated his life to suicide prevention, supporting veterans and first responders, and helping others navigate complex PTS and recovery. He's a husband, father, mentor, and a man committed to lifting others through courage, compassion, and service. Please join me in welcoming Jason Sider to episode 86.
Thank you.
It went pretty well inside.
That sounds
screwing up the Air Force, right?
Yeah, right.
Damn it.
Maybe
that has a subliminal thing. Like, I was like, man. Because it did hurt to put the Air Force flag up. I said it this year. I was going to not make jokes about other branches, but
I know you.
I just can't help it when I see that one. Because even Jana was like, "It's so boring looking." I'm like, "It's kind of a weird looking flag if you look at it."
Yeah. That's all right. You know, it's always free shots that go at you for being an officer. So I'm okay with that.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
We can do this all night.
Touche. We can. Yep. So, well, I'll just start with the quote as well before we get into it. So. This is from one of your favorite authors, I believe, Marianne Williamson.
Oh, yeah.
As we let our light shine, we unconsciously give the other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence actually liberates others. Return to Love.
Return to Love, yeah. It's a great book.
You know what's funny is I put that in. It's always interesting to do these quotes because I didn't want to, obviously we'll talk more about our connection with Save a Warrior, so it's kind of a thing. But like, I just put something in there like a transmit. Like, I can't remember what I even Googled, and that was like the second one that came up.
Oh yeah.
So I feel like they're definitely listening to us because we talk about Return to Love.
Oh, frequently
all the time, yeah.
Especially with where we're at now.
I'm all about Return to Love.
Yes.
Even the Air Force guys.
Yeah.
So, but let's talk about you grew up in the Erie, Pennsylvania area. Let's start about young Jason. What was it like being a young Jason growing up in Erie?
I grew up in Erie, Pennsylvania, and when I say Erie, I grew up out on the county roads, out in the dirt roads. I mean, we didn't even have cable or anything. My mom and dad bought a house. It was, fairly, needed a lot of renovations, a lot of work and stuff like that. Dad worked at General Electric. He was a third generation General Electric worker. My mom worked a couple different jobs. She worked in the grocery store and eventually got a job doing retail marketing. So yeah, I didn't have a whole lot around me. I didn't have my closest friend was, half a mile up the road. I had to ride my bike but I had 14 acres of wooded property that was my parents' property and then hundreds of, acres after that. So yeah, I grew up out in the woods and grew up, riding three-wheelers and mini bikes and things like that, building forts out in the woods. And yeah.
One thing I didn't know, any brothers or sisters? That's one thing I can remember.
Yeah, I have a sister. She's about 11 and a half years younger than me.
Wow. Yeah. Mine's 8 years younger, so big difference, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like being a parent instead of a...
Yeah, in a way, right? Yeah.
So what was young Jason like? With all that freedom in the woods?
Well,
being only child for a while?
Well, like third grade, I got into scouting. I can remember pretty clearly. You know, a guy came in, had his uniform on and everything. You know, I was like, oh, that dude looks kind of squared away, right? I didn't have words for that then. And you know, he had us fold up this application and told us to put it underneath the milk carton and have our parents find it and everything. And and it was sound like something I wanted to do. It was something different. I wasn't really much of a sports kid. I played baseball, little league in third grade. Wasn't very good at it. And I was like, well, scouting's going out in the woods, camping and stuff. So why not? Let's try this. And got into that. And I ended up doing that all the way through, until I was 18. I was in scouting. And that always appealed to me because I don't know, it was a separation from what was going on at home, to be able to go there. I had a uniform, I had responsibilities, I had that oath, I had, things to live by and kind of an oath code. And, I had, it's when that brotherhood kind of started. Like I have an allegiance to these guys to carry forth as the troop or the pack or whatever. And, so I really fell into that. I really enjoyed doing that. I eventually became a camp counselor at our local scout camp. I taught camping merit badge and wilderness survival. And I took that on as it's when I really started studying like leadership stuff too. And that was that side of it. The other side was, help my dad work on the house. He'd come home from work and we do some remodeling on the house. We weren't doing that. We were working on, his truck, or we were splitting firewood because we burned firewood. So it was all summer long, cutting firewood, cutting down the trees. And then we'd have to stack it and split it. And then we'd have to put it down in the basement and stack it again. And so it was like always something seemed to be kind of going on. Yeah.
I mean, we know each other pretty in depth. So yeah. We're very similar in a lot of the ways of what's going on. Like, how would you classify your relationship with your dad? Because like when I hear you say the same things, like I was around my dad doing like stuff that my dad wanted to do, and like doing like manual labor and stuff that he wanted to do. As I look, I was like, I don't know how close I was to him really at that time, because it was just the only thing, I had to, if I didn't enjoy doing what he was doing, I wasn't going to be around him. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I wanted to be close to him, as like, I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be heard. I wanted him to want to do things with me, and of course you're a kid. You don't want to always stack firewood or work on a house. You don't want to be hanging drywall, to this day, I don't like doing home renovations. I come to that conclusion here a few years ago, right? After sitting in the container, it's like, I'm not a freaking construction person. That's not what I do. So I grew up doing all that stuff. And, I was a kid when my dad worked like third shift, I would like never see him because he'd be sleeping during the day. And, I'm getting up at, 3, 4 in the morning when he's coming home from work just to see him. And my alarm clock's blasting because I just want to see my dad. That was short-lived. I don't remember him working that shift very much. But it always seemed like he always had something else going on. With that said, I mean, he taught me how to shoot. I would shoot with him and things like that. We were never hunters. So it never appealed to me, but I spent a lot of time, mom and dad would be at work. I was home by myself during the day. Of course, they'd give me a list of chores to do and I'd wait until the last minute. The General Electric whistle is, you could hear it go off, and I knew I had like 20.
It's like the Flintstones, like you can hear it far. Shit.
It's like, man, I got 25, 30 minutes before dad comes screaming down the road. If he doesn't go, somewhere out, go get a beer after work or whatever, so it's like, hurry up and get everything done. Right. And, that was about it. We went on family vacations on occasions. I'd go out to my grandmother's. My grandparents lived, they had like front property in New York State. And I'd go over there sometimes, spend the weekend and I did a lot of lawn mowing. That was kind of my summer job, and run big tractor and brush hog their field and stuff like that. And we'd go camping a lot when I was a kid. Had a lot of connection, like my cousins and stuff like that. I had a big family on my dad's side. My mom's side of the family was a little further downstate. We weren't always like really closer to them until my grandmother moved up into the Erie area. And then I would spend some of my summers with her and mow her grass, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I always think about like with my dad, like when you brought that up, it's like a lot of, I'm not making my dad wrong or your dad wrong or any other dads out there, but yeah, I don't remember him doing a lot of stuff that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was always what he did. And to be honest with you, I kind of carried that into my kids as well. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things, if I look back, I'm like, geez, like if your kid wants to, color, like whatever they want to do it. You know what I mean? I did that with sports, I mean, but to extent, I mean, I got burned out towards our last kid playing sports, I mean, but yeah, I don't just remember like my dad ever saying like, well, what would you like to do today? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, that's there really not had much of a choice, I mean, and I kind of carried that on too. So like as I look back, that's one of the things with my kids. I can't come back in time, but I was like, I wish I had just asked that question a lot more. You know what I mean? Try to be now that they're older, not to put pressure on them. You know what I mean? If they don't want to come over, they don't want to come over. If they don't want to do this, let's not do that. But it is an interesting time. I think we're close to the age. I think that was just the time too. It was just like,
yeah.
But then again, I don't know if any kid honestly was like, maybe make a whole generation of dads bad, but like, I don't remember a lot of like it being like that for any kids really. Like, not that I was aware of. I mean, I was kept pretty isolated from other families, but we didn't know because you didn't have social media, but like it didn't, I mean, it seemed like every kid was just doing what their parents wanted to do.
It was that generation, that was, I mean, so I'm in Erie. It's the Rust Belt, so we got a lot of manufacturing, a lot of things going on. They're building locomotives like crazy. America's going and doing a certain thing. My dad worked a lot of overtime. Well, guess where I picked up my workaholism too. Overtime made money. Money made, got you to do more things around the house or got you to buy nicer things, right? So I picked up that trait. Again, that's not making my dad wrong. That's just what happened, and that's what he was doing. We know because, hey, we had to eat. We had to do things that we needed to do.
I think it is interesting because, like, I had it for a long time. But like I'm a workaholic myself, so I had all this time is, I love money, like working, but like we all know that's kind of changed. Feed my tubes is important. Like I'm going to keep doing that, but a lot of it was but all those things you said, but also was part of it, like working hard and being out of the house was being out of the house, right? If I was working hard, making money, then I'd have to deal with some of the shit that was at home.
Right.
And that's one of the things I picked up from my dad. That's the part I picked up from my dad. The hard work, like, I think that's like, I can never get that back. I think our generation of dads were like, they instilled work in your ass. I mean, you were working, like you were doing chores,
right?
Like you were doing all this stuff, right? But I have it now that, the reason my dad was out too was just to be away from the house. I mean, not to be dealing with life and the same thing I did. It's like, okay, cool. So it's like, if you're out there and you're workaholic, that's great. But like, don't miss out on what's going on in your life, you know what I mean? Because you can't get it back. You know what I mean? You can't get those things back. That's how I kind of look at it. I was definitely using that as an excuse to I can't go to this, I can't go to that, I can't do this because I got to work. Like hid behind a long time saying that's because I'm a workaholic. That's what I do. You know what I mean? But but now that I think about it, there was no kid that was like that we know of. I'm trying to think of all the people I knew. I'm like, they were all doing the same shit we were doing, or they were just running around like completely like no parent involved, right? You know what I'm saying? Like there was the kids that were like,
Gen
you know what I mean? Like they were just like, you used to have the kids that'd be like, almost like they had the whole house to themselves. You'd be like, where's your parents? Oh, they're cool with us being here. I'm like,
yeah, but that's the Gen X lifestyle, and we kind of as older Gen Xers, right? It's kind of like you always see the videos. We always tout ourselves as that's how we were. Like we didn't have parents, we didn't have supervision. They had to put commercials on to ask, do you know where your children are? I mean, but there's a reality to that, And there was times, I mean, in the summertime, man, as soon as school broke, me and my buddies were out camping. We had this old VW bus, and we'd be out in the back that my uncle had there at our house, and we'd be out camping in that. It was never we weren't at my house, we were at one of my buddies' houses. Yeah. And then all night long we're up until 4 or 5 in the morning till the sun comes up, out raising hell, doing shit we shouldn't have been doing. And
so did you ever hang out at your house?
Oh yeah, we hung out at my house.
I didn't.
Yeah.
My house was kind of off limits.
Yeah.
Because number one, my mom didn't like everybody around. Like he saw me making a joke about the pillows down here, right? But yeah, and then the other part about it was like I've shared before, it's like I didn't want people to see my mom, you know what I mean? Like my mom could turn on a dime, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you wouldn't see it. I'm not sure. I didn't want you to see it, but whatever was happening would come back on me in a weird way. So like you did something like you weren't supposed to be doing, or like, and I like, say for example, like you were down here jumping around on shit and I didn't stop you. Like my mom would be like, "Oh, it's cool. You guys having fun." And then when they leave, my mom would be like, "The hell are you doing?" You know what I mean? So there's a part of me that was like, shit, if I keep my mom, we just went a lot of like, I don't think I ever had a sleepover at my house except for like once when I was like 16 or something.
Yeah.
It just wasn't a thing.
I didn't really have that problem, but I do remember hiding out in the woods, you know.
Yeah, me too.
I'd hide out in the woods, and I always had camo on and face paint on and all that kind of stuff, and run around with my BB gun, thinking I was like, Force Recon or something crazy like that. But yeah, I would hide, and hey, is mom and dad fighting? What's dad doing? If dad's working on something, I'm gonna go back and hide in the woods or whatever, right? Wait until it's dark out and come home then, and by then he's not gonna want to do anything.
Yeah.
But I mean that is something that happened.
Yeah, it's funny because I just finished up the 11 Parent Guidebook. So this is a shout out to Joe, who loved it very much. But one of the things that as towards the end of it, when they started talking about like having fun, which I've talked about before, like, that's one of the things as adults, I forgot how to have fun for a long, long time. I'm super into having fun now, you know what I mean? Like true fun, like to connect with, that child that was having fun. And one of the things I've realized is like how much time I spent in the woods and how much I loved it. Like being around how quiet it is, just the peacefulness of it. I was like, that's one of the things I said, like, I think like next year I'm not doing it in this weather because I'm too much of a wuss now, but just to go out and like maybe start camping or hiking where you can stay the night overnight, because I forgot how much I enjoyed that. It was just the peacefulness, the disconnection from people. I did that all the time for some of the same reasons you did, but other reasons were just like I enjoyed it. I mean, there's something about being out there and like just being in the woods that I loved and connected with it, and I enjoyed it. And for a long time I was like, I was in the Army, I'm not going to do that, blah blah blah. But now I just I want to reconnect to that part.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I did all that, and then I joined the Air Force, and it was like, but you know how it is. We're in the military now. We're outside all the time. Yeah. It's like you almost feel like you're never inside, and it's like last thing I want to do is go camping.
Mm-hmm.
My wife goes camping or did go camping with the kids, and here I've started walking like the bike trails and stuff like that, and I'm more connected, I'm more grounded now. So yeah, I'm noticing things like I never noticed before. I know we'll get into that part later.
Yeah, but, it is interesting. But
there's that separation of time there, and even being a trooper, you're outside all the time. It's like last thing I want to do is be outside. So yeah, I got away from that, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm looking at like those campers you put on the back of your truck that's like up on the roof, and they fold out and everything. And I'm like, man, I could kind of get one of those, it'd be kind of neat. They get inflatable mattresses.
You kind of glamp a little bit.
Yeah. It's like, just go somewhere random and go, live off the land a little bit.
Yeah. Cause mine is like, I had it tied, like I always say like I was to do that, but I had to like tie it into some stupid epic thing. Like I was going to do like the Appalachian Trail or like make it like, I just want to I think when the weather gets bad, I'm just going to go camping. I'm just going to go go on a hike, stay the night. You know what I mean? I'm not glamping like you. I was in the Army. Come on. But, you're not gonna be able to get that truck anywhere either, dude. You have to go to like a RV place with that truck you have.
Yeah, my wife's looking at Broncos.
Okay,
so maybe that'll work.
But that's one of the things that just come to the connection. Like looking back on like the things in childhood that I really just thought about that when, because I was always in those type of conversations. Anyways, it just came to mind when you thought about that. Like, because even scouting, when you mentioned that, like I bailed on when I was like 15 years old. Yeah, 16. 15, 16 because it wasn't cool anymore. I really fucking enjoyed it, dude. I really liked it because, like you said before, it was like there was structure. I was learning stuff. I was out in the woods. Like I was away from my parents. Yeah, I know. Like that's the number one thing. Like I was away from my parents. Like they were kind of like, I feel like some of these like scout leaders, and sounds awful, but they kind of like really liked you. You know what I mean? Like you weren't like a parent. Like it was like there was some like, they saw you for who you were, you know what I mean? Like what your strengths were or whatever. There was a lot of enjoyment of that. But then it got to a point, like when I was 15, 16 years old, like my mom even started with like, oh, this isn't really cool. Other kids aren't doing this. But I was like, I really like this. And then I'm not lying. I stopped doing it because I didn't think it was cool. And my mom was like, yeah, I don't know if this is,
Yeah.
You should be doing something. You should be playing sports. What are you going to do? Like scouting, all that kind of stuff. I really kicked myself for not finishing like Eagle Scout and things like that. Because I really enjoyed it.
I did the same thing. You know, there was a time I wanted to be an Eagle Scout, and I was trying to do it. I had a couple good mentors that were Eagles, and you know, I just never followed through with it because I was too distracted, and I didn't have a positive influence on it either. Though I don't think I had somebody encouraging me to do it in my family. So, you know, and that's not to make any make wrongs, but that's just, I didn't feel like that was something that I should try to accomplish. But I did love scouting, and I wasn't a sports kid. I played, like I said, I played little league. I played basketball like 6th, 7th grade, wasn't very good at that. And then I played football in 11th grade and absolutely hated it. And a friend of mine on the football team that got injured, he got in the stage crew because he couldn't play sports anymore, and he got me into that. And that's the thing. I'm more of an artistic person. I like, you know, I like creating. I like designing things. I'm in model railroading, so I like making things with my hands and, you know, interpretation of things. And so that was my thing and I love stage crew. I wish I would have done that for 4 years in high school, but it was like, oh, that's not cool. I'm not going to do that. You know, same thing with scouting. Yeah, you're right. It's not cool. A lot of people, you know, give you shit for it and everything else. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, I can land navigate and I can go out and live.
I can start a fire.
Yeah, I can start a fire with one match, and you know, I can build a shelter, and you know, what can you do?
Yeah, there's some simple things like I know where north and south is. I can figure it out.
Yeah,
I can read a map. No, but I was just thinking when you said that is like, because today you wonder how like something like programs like scouting even stay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Relevant, and I understand why. I mean, obviously they've had so much shit that's going on to it, but still, like all that's going on and the things you say before, like that wasn't cool. Like I love these conversations. I think about like how much fucking peer pressure there was without social media, like doing like being a stagehand or all that kind of stuff. That shit was still running rampant, like that peer pressure. So that it kind of makes me feel a little bit of sympathy for my kids now because now it's instantaneous, right?
Yeah, it's right there in their face.
Yeah, like I mean, but there was still some serious fucking judging and peer pressure going on when we were, you know.
Well, and by that point, I'm judging myself too. You know, I'm already like making myself guilty of things. You know, and it's like, you know, nobody likes me because I'm doing this, you know, and that kind of stuff. And I had my social awkwardness, and
I think we all did. Yeah,
you know, it's like I kind of like in some ways I fit in with a little bit of everybody, but I didn't fit in with anybody at the same time, right? Like I had my few good buddies, and that was it. And those were my solid guys, you know. And usually it was if two of us were together, if three of us were together, then somebody was getting messed with.
Yeah,
you know, we turn on one or the other. And
the one identity I had is like I grew up in the military Army brat, so we lived on a sub post at West Point. So there was the military kids that went to like the local schools and high schools. So those are the kind of people you grew to because you were like the same. It was like your own tribe, right? Because you lived on posts together. You were familiar to what was going to happen. Like a lot of us didn't grow up within these people, but like when you say that now, like when you like just reflecting on things, is like I was the guy who was trying to fit in with everybody. I was, you know, I used to say like I got along with everybody else because I was like being a chameleon. Like whatever if you gave me the attention to show, I'd pretend like I remember the phase when I was into like heavy metal music. I was always into the sports, but like all these other things, I would, if I could get attention from it or get noticed,
right,
then I would, you know, I would do that. The things like the military, like the guys the kids that were on posts with me, and then the sports stuff were the only people I was like, I think I was truly close with. Everybody, all these other friends, I was just, you know, saying or doing what I had to do to fit in. You know what I mean? Like there's the phase of like when I was into like BMX biking, like some crazy shit like that. You know what I mean? Like there's a phase when I was like trying to skateboard. Like 6'4" people I don't know them, they're skateboarding. It's a long fall, but I feel like there's a lot of that stuff that social group was just trying to find just to get attention. You know what I mean? That's what it was for me, at least. You know what I mean? To be noticed.
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, like I said, I had my little clique of group, and I mean, we'd go camping in the winter sometimes too, because we were just like, that's the only place we could get away and do the thing that we like to do. You know, and you know, we didn't have video games, we didn't have any of that kind of stuff going on. So yeah, that was my lifestyle. You know, and then especially like I said, when summer broke, man, Yeah.
So you graduated from high school. What year? You didn't put that down there. What year did you graduate?
94.
Are you? You're 94 guy like me too? I'm 90.
You're
I was trying to
90.
pretend like I was.
You're older.
You got me going like I was getting excited there. I was like, holy cow. Yeah, but that's high school. Sorry, I gotta rewind a little bit.
Yeah, I graduated in 94.
So you head off to college, try to give it a go.
I went to Mercyhurst University. It's a Catholic school. Really good school for it was called police science when I started, and then they changed it partway into criminal justice. Didn't do the greatest, had really bad grades, had to take remedial English, wasn't good at math. Psychology was my worst class, which I laugh at now because we've read all these books and it's like, man, I could go into a college psychology class now and be like, I got this.
I'm going to tell you what, professor, what you're reading about. Let me tell you.
Yeah, which that's probably going to make my daughter laugh because that's what she studies in college is psychology. But I get it now. I'm like, I have an interest in it now, right? I had zero interest in it. We had faith, religion, and theology. And I thought that was cheesy and corny and everything else, which we read about Homer and the Iliad and all those kind of things, which was neat because when I went to Turkey, I got to see some of it. I get to see heaven and hell. So that was neat. And I was like, man, I wish I would have paid more attention when I was in college, but didn't do the greatest. I had a job working security, because I wanted to try I knew I wanted to be in law enforcement. Even back in high school, I kind of started stacking that resume, like even thinking that way before I even knew, you couldn't be a cop in Pennsylvania until you're 21. So I'm 18. Like, what do I got to do between now and then to get there? And when we were graduating high school, all my buddies were going off into the military. And I was like, oh, them guys are going to be dumb. Yeah, screw them. I'm smarter than you. I'm better than you. I'm going to college, and I think my dad reluctantly, paid for me to go to college. And then I did bad and I'd come home with these poor, grades. And, as soon as I'd hit the door, he was jumping my shit. Mm-hmm. And that real true separation between my dad, I think really, and I started then, especially after like my first year of college. So like 1995, first year is not doing so good. I'm going into summer and I'm like, man, I'm going to go to the recruiter. So I go down to the Air Force recruiter. Well, that year out of high school, I put on a ton of weight, and I go in there and he's like, dude, you got to lose some weight. He's like, I ain't even talking to you. And I can remember walking out of that building. It was downtown Erie. And it was like one of those buildings with all mirrors on the outside. And I looked at myself in that reflection. I'm like, God, I look like hell, And of course I look at myself now and I'm like, man, I need to lose some weight. But I remember that. And it's like, man, I don't think this is going to work out. Right. So I go back to college, talk my dad and let me go back to college. Things aren't going good again for that first semester. And my dad's like, hey, you need to get a flipping job. When are you going to get a real job? He's like, I'd come home. He's like, you need to get a job. You need to go work in a shop. You're just not going to make it. Not very encouraging. And I convinced him to let me go to Act 120 municipal police training. And Mercyhurst had another campus where they did municipal training. And it was a 6-7 week academy. In order to be a police officer in Pennsylvania, you got to have Act 120. And then you also have to have 235 in order to carry a weapon, and a security guard can carry a weapon with 235. So I was like, well, if I get that, I can get an armed position with the security company, make a little bit more money, and then just try to get my degree and hopefully get a job by the time I'm 21. I didn't know a damn thing about anything, right? I'm just a kid. And fortunately for that police academy, we did a lot of PT, we did a lot of running, and I lost all that weight. And coming home from that, so I fail. I'm 2 weeks out of that police academy and I fail criminal procedure. It's like a 3-day class, 3-4-day class. And you could retake that part of that class, but you had to wait until the next academy to get your certificate. So if you took that class, passed that test, then they're like, you'll pass the test, right? You'll get your certificate. So when it come time to graduation, my parents were like kind of excited for me. And I'm like, well, hey, here's the deal. I'm not really getting my certificate during graduation. I failed criminal procedure. My dad lost his shit, off the deep end. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can make this up. Mm-hmm. And he's like, it doesn't matter. You didn't do it. You didn't pass with your class. So you're not passing at all. And it was like, that's it. That was like the writing on the wall. And at that point I was like, well, screw this. I'm out. Went to the Air Force recruiter. I was in shape. He was a great dude. I owe this guy, you know, a lot of stuff. He was really encouraging, kept me going to the gym, got, you know, we had a lot of like classes on learning to rank and, you know, marching and stuff like that. So he really got us squared away, sent me up to MEPS. I went to MEPS, didn't tell my parents I was going up there, did all that all by myself and everything. And I got my enlistment date, sworn in, you know, and it's really weird. You know, there's like a handful of us that didn't have family there. There's all these other people got family there taking pictures and everything else. And there's like a handful of us, like we got no way there, you know? So it was like, wow, this is weird. This is different, you know? And I didn't tell my parents. My plan, I was going in April Fool's Day, 1997. And my plan was I was going to go drive to the bus station, park my car there, leave my parents a note with a copy of my car keys and say, hey, love you. I joined the Air Force. My car is now at the bus station. That was the plan. And
why'd you have that plan?
Because I didn't want to deal with the fallout from my parents. You know, I was always feeling like I was being controlled. I was always being told what I could do and couldn't do. And things were very, I would stay out late and come home late at night just to avoid my dad, you know, and I'd get home at 11, 12:30 at night and my dad's sitting in the kitchen, you know, and you see the cigarette going with the lights off and it's like, here we go. I'm going to get the ass chewing. So the one day I came home, I don't know what I was doing. I came home and my dad's in the kitchen and he just starts gnawing on me again about, you know, getting a real job. What are you going to do? You're not going back to college. And I was like, screw it. Ran upstairs, grabbed the paperwork, threw it down on the kitchen counter in my mom and dad's house. And I said, listen, you can either get along with me between now and April or not. I said, I'll live in my car. I don't care at this point. He's trying to throw me out of the house. Well, we'd gotten physical with each other a few times. Like we'd had throwdowns. And I said, listen, you can either get along with me or not. But here's the deal. I'm leaving in April. I'm joining the Air Force and I'm going to be a cop because I got the job to be in going to security forces. It was security police at the time. And he's like, right away, he was like, well, wait a minute, Jay, let's talk about this. I'm like, there's nothing to talk about. Yeah. I went to Buffalo. I raised my right hand. I'm sworn in. Here's my ship out date. So what's it going to be? Mm-hmm. And from that time on, it was pretty decent after that. Like, I mean, what's he going to do? Right. You want me to move out? I'll move out. I don't care. I'll go sleep on a corner until April 1st. Right. I'll go down to the recruiter. He'll hook me up, you know, send me in early, whatever. And, yeah. That was like that crossing that line. And I was 20 at that time, you know, and things in my life were, you know, really on hold. You know, we talk about those different age groups when, you know, in our age scores and things like that, you know, and, you know, I'm still 20 and still living under my parents' roof while all my buddies are out having careers. They got jobs in the military. I had buddies that went to VOTEC. They got jobs. They're living on their own. I got guys in the military. They're off going on deployments. They got benefits. They got pay. They're buying nice cars. You know, I'm talking to them. And I had a good friend that was in the Air Force. He was a firefighter. You know, he had it even easier than anybody in the Air Force. But
well, look at you and shit on the Air Force. I love it.
Yeah,
I'm rubbing off on you.
Yeah,
everybody has it easy in the Air Force. Not kidding. It just makes me think when you said it, the only reason I'm laughing about it is because I feel like it's that like I'll show you motherfuckers what I'm gonna do, and like that just makes me because the same way I'm gonna go off and go to military school, and I'm gonna join the military. I'm gonna show you, you know what I mean? But what's crazy is in that thinking how much acceptance we got from, you know, our parents. I mean, for me at least, was like I had one side of it. It was like my mom did not like it, but I know my dad was like, okay, I got it. But it is kind of funny. That's my mind ringing true. Is like, you know, fuck you. You know, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to just go join the warrior class. I'm out of here. I'm leaving tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because it's the same way. That's how mine went. Like when you was talking about your college thing, and I've heard so many people talk about this, is like, how do you have it? Like if I went, how I have it now, if I went to a normal school, if I would have been in a military school, I would have fucking failed out. I would have been so distracted. I would have been partying my ass off, right? And I would have made it. Right. But going to military school, I had I had the same kind of fear going on. Like I was definitely afraid to come home with bad grades.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because I was like, holy shit, like I'm going to get rash shit. Cause I know I forged a report card my day or two. But a lot of it was, you know, for me, like when I look back, it was like, a lot of it was also like distraction and not focusing on it. Like, and to be honest with you, academics weren't really important in my family. Like they didn't like, because when you did do well, my mom would say shit like, oh, you think you're smart on this because you can spell, like, you know what I mean, all this kind of stuff. Like there's a lot of like weird stuff that was going on, but then like I know my parents, you know, I had shit ton of loans to go there. You know what I mean? I know my parents had taken out some loans to do it. And I was like afraid to come home like a failure, because the same thing, like it wasn't good, man. Like my mom was on my ass about not being on the fucking dean's list. My mom, like, I mean, when I went to college, the first time I did it, like it was like, my mom was like, and the funny thing is like I was getting recognition from my mom, right? She didn't want me to do this, but like, oh, she had the little card that used to give you, know what I mean, that you'd send there. That was like a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my son's on the dean's list. But that pressure of like doing it, but like, thank God I went to military school where like everything is structured. It's like how I grew up, right? Because if I would have went to like a normal school, I'm telling you, man, there's no fucking way I would have made it. Because I would have been like, I got freedom, right? And I'm just going to take full advantage of it. So when I hear some stories of like, a lot of stories I hear, like I look back and be like, thank you for there not being the internet. Yeah. Thank you for not being able to do a college visit to Norwich University, and thank you, Norwich University. Because without that, I don't know what it would look like for me, to be honest with you.
See, I didn't do a whole lot of partying and messing around when I was in college because I didn't want to get in trouble. Because I had that whole thing, you know, well, hey, if I get underage drinking, you know, I'm not going to get hired as a cop, you know. So did I underage drink? Yeah, I underage drank, and we just stayed at a buddy's house or whatever. But I usually just try to stay out of trouble. And the fact of the matter is I was terrified going to the military. You know, my dad was in the Marine Corps. My grandfather was in the Navy, and I don't know, I just had this fear of it. I don't know what it was, and I avoided it. And of course I thought I was going to be better and smarter than everybody by going to college. And I was only going to get my associate's degree at first. That was the deal with my dad is, well, hey, we'll get your associate's degree. If you do good doing that, then we'll talk about 4 years. And I was like, okay, sure. I'll go that route. But at the end of the day, you know, yeah, joining the Air Force was the best thing I ever did. And I had that planned out too. I know. Yeah. You give me shit for being in the Air Force, but I did my homework. It's like, first of all, I don't like boats. I don't like a lot of water. So Navy and Coast Guard are out, you know. The Marine Corps. Yeah. I grew up with a Marine and my best friend in high school, you know, went in the Marines, and his dad was a Marine. And it was like, I see how them guys are. Army was kind of like, well, yeah. But the one I really wanted was I looked into security police and the Air Force, and that was the most, I want to say, like almost normal to a civilian law enforcement agency. And then the security side of it was pretty badass too. And I was like, all right, that's where I want to go. It really had nothing to do with, hey, this is the easier career field or a branch of the military or any of that. It was like, this is the one I think is going to give me the best training for hopefully the future. So that's how I made that choice. Yeah. Yeah.
I just did it because I wanted to be better than my dad, and the Army was the best way to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was your dad?
Yeah, my dad he was enlisted in the Army.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of a, you know.
Yeah.
Because I figured if I was to do it, I got to, like, you know, there's part of me, like, I'm saying, like, I'm, you know, like in a good way, but a lot of it was, you know, that I'm going to show you, like, watch this. I'm going to show you I can do this. And because I don't think, I don't know if, like, I look back at them, it may not be fair, but I don't know if they really believed they could do, I could do it either. You know what I mean? I don't think my parents like really thought it was like, okay, sure. Like,
right.
You're not really going to, like, and a lot of it's like, oh, fuck you, watch this. I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? And then when you do it, you're like, whoops. That part of you's like, whoops.
How you like
whoops. What'd I do? No.
Yeah.
Whoops. No, but it's yeah, it is. But I'm not even saying the parting. I just think like the lack of structure would have got me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I really do. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that was another thing too. You know, that was one thing, you know, at home, I don't want to call it, it's hard to not call it chaos, but it was unstructured. The rules of engagement always changed. But when I was in scouting, what? There's a hierarchy.
Yeah.
There's a chain of command. There's oaths. There's laws. There's a uniform. There's a way to live your life by. And it's like, for some reason that fit me. Like I felt like I could do that, you know. There's a sense of accomplishment, you know. Hey, you do this thing, you're going to get this award, you're going to get this patch, you're going to get this recognition, you know. So now we're starting that, you know. I like looking good to avoid looking bad.
No,
right?
I mean, yeah, you're right. Because the funny thing, when you start looking at the dean's list, right, you don't get anything taken off, right? But in the military school, you get to wear like an academic pen.
Right.
Like on uniform. So when I look at you, I can tell what your GPA is, like at the top level. So that was to look good, right? Like, look at this. Like I got a gold star or silver star, you know what I mean? That, like on it, that was a big thing. Like that was you know, and it's funny you bring that up when we had these conversations. That's the same thing. My mom would be like, oh, what is that? What does that star mean on the uniform? Well, it means for my GPA. Oh, you better not lose that. Like that. Why doesn't he have one? You know what I mean? And just like, well, I'm a criminal justice major. He's a mechanical engineer. Not to say anybody else's major is easier or not, but maybe that might. But that was a lot. That motivated me too, because you know, I got praise from my mom.
Yeah.
Right, and then I got a cool pen I could wear.
Right.
And look better than everybody else.
Yeah.
What a motivator those two things can be.
Yeah, they can. It's funny how we were motivated by the smallest little things. You know, a pin or patch or coin. You know, we all went through that phase where a coin was like something super special to us, right? And you know, everybody is bragging rights.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've shared with you, like the whole, like that was once it clicked in for that I joined the military. Like that's where my mom, all of a sudden, my mom had respect for me. My mom had. Because my mom, I think my mom understood. Like my dad, her husband was an enlisted guy. She knew what it took to get there. Like she saw like the you know, the 70s, 80s Army, 70s, 80s, early 90s Army. They're like officers, like it used to be treated like a lot differently. It was a big deal. Like there was a difference in rank structure. You know what I mean? Like when you do that. So I think she was like, oh, look at my son now. Look at him. He's an officer, and there's a lot of pride in that. You know what I mean? That's where she, like, because she could look good from it as well too. That was the interesting thing about it. Yeah. That's the number one thing is. She could brag about, oh, my son's an officer in the Army. I mean, or he's in the dean's list. Like when I think back, my mom was doing a lot of that, and I thrived on it because that's when my mom wasn't, you know, verbally and mentally abusing me. To be honest with you, I mean, that's when I got praise for, and I felt like I was worth something. You know what I mean? Yeah. For the first time in my life, that's. Because it wasn't through sports, it wasn't anything like that. It wasn't through academics, which is kind of funny because like that's the one thing that like my mom would just beat the like. I like it was just so crazy when I think back about it. It's like you'd ask her to read something, or I'd say like she would write something and be like, "Oh, you spelled like there wrong." You know what I mean? Oh yeah. And it would just be like this huge fucking like making you feel bad for like.
Oh, I'm the same way.
For knowing like that you know that you know that, you know what I mean? Like that's how it was. It was like, and it would come back like, oh, you think you're smart, or you think you're all this, you know, we did all this for you to do this kind of stuff. I couldn't, and it was just like a lot of this like guilt from me, you know what I mean? But like when you went to the military, that changed for me. My mom, for the first time, like I felt like my mom was super proud of me, like for the first time ever, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like she saw me. The same thing with my dad. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, my parents told me they were proud of me when I joined the military, and you know, I started doing things. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, you know, even to this day, like if I hate it when somebody's standing here like looking over my shoulder when I'm trying to read something or I'm on the computer. It's just like I get that because that's my parents looking over my shoulder while I'm doing homework, and God forbid I spelled put the wrong there, and you know, here, and those kind of things. So yeah, you're right. You had that freedom when you joined the military, where you're expected to do something, but you're also given you're given just enough rope to hang yourselves. I had a really good supervisor tell me that in the state police when I got into the fire marshal unit. We give you enough rope just to hang yourself. And I could say the military was the same thing, you know, and you still had to walk a fine line, but you also had a sense of accomplishment. And that was something that I needed. That goes back to that thing I was saying about scouting. I needed that. I needed a drive. I needed that accomplishment. I needed to chase those shiny objects that they gave us, you know, the pieces of paper with our names on them that we, you know, we chased.
Yeah. I mean, 100% driven by like mine was like a lot of it was driven by proving my parents wrong, right? And then like then it was I'm getting praise for this, so I got to do that. And then like you're getting you get awards, you get you go to schools, all this kind of stuff. It's like it becomes a bragging right. Like it becomes look at me, I look good. And then all that's how when I look back, and not that I didn't do things, I wasn't doing everything for the right reason, but a lot of it was to look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and to dominate others.
I was.
And that's the thing is like
student.
it's like to get in there and to be able to be like now like I was a guy like my parents would do that to me, but I'd be the same person if like if you're an NCO and you were spelling stuff wrong in NCOER, dude, I was like a total asshole. Oh, yeah. Like I'd be the guy like, oh, this isn't grammatically correct. Because now it's like I feel like I had to like. Look how smart I am, or I mean, look at me. I know this. I can't. I mean, it's just like I just watch how those waves how they came in. I mean, like those things that drove me nuts about what my mom did. Right, like I would just take that and just use it as like a weapon to use against other people. You know what I mean? Like you didn't spell this right. There should be like a comma there, like all this kind of shit. And I'm just like, dude, like let it go. Like, and it took me 50 years to let that shit go. You know what I mean?
Yep, me too.
But it's like such a weird, like I look back at it and like I love all my time in the military. I wouldn't change it. I changed some of the things in it, but
yeah, sure.
But it was just like I think it was like for us, and I think we talked about this before. Is like this is what I was raised that like I was really I have it that it's not a popular opinion, but the military, and I think you may agree to some extent, is it's where a lot of the broken toys go.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's kind of where we're forced to, and like those, what's broken in us, and like what we've rewired to survive and to be successful. When you go into the military, the war class, it's like, you literally get medals for the shit. You get all this kind of shit, like recognition that we didn't get when we were younger, that we were searching for a long time, and like, holy cow, I can be an asshole and get paid noticed to do it, and people like, you know what I mean?
People praise me for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like, oh, you know that. Yeah, it's 100% true. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to look back and see that. So,
well, we dive into the military, and we're thrown to the walls with a bunch of other adult children, right? Either people go in because they can't afford to go to college and they don't want to be there, but it's the only option they have. You got people that are court ordered to go in. You got people that are diehard. Hey, I'm joining to carry on the family legacy, And then security forces was really weird because there was a lot. Listen, you had to have a low ASVAB score to join the security forces. That's it. That was the job I wanted. I had a high enough ASVAB score. I could have went and done other stuff. And my recruiter's like, you sure you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, I want to be a cop. And I didn't understand that until I got in there,
Are you sure this is your last chance? Well, are you sure?
But also, if you washed out of a certain career field, your tech school, they made you a cop. So you got into your cop squadron. You got guys that wanted to do all these other jobs. You got guys that didn't want to be there, but then you had a handful of people. That's what they really wanted to do. They wanted to be cops. They wanted to be, and they were proud of doing that job. And that's what I was. I wanted to be there. Now I played the card all the time. I always said I hated it. I always said I didn't want to be there, and a part of me didn't. My traveling through my 4 years was kind of up and down. The first part of it, I basic training, tech school, that was basic.
It's the Air Force, but no.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, we had caviar, and
they yelled at us a couple times
on Fridays, right? Yeah,
we went on a camp out.
Right, we had little cards that say "I'm offended."
We went on a camp out twice, I think. No.
Well, okay, so. Okay, we did camp out one time, Shay, in basic training.
They gave us those things blank, so it was fun. No, I'm
like a lie. Air Force basic training was like we did more damn cleaning than we did cleaning and marching. That's all we did is clean and march. We'd go march, they'd wreck our shit. We'd come back, we'd fix it. We'd go march again. We'd go eat. They'd wreck our shit. We'd fix it again. We'd sleep. that was it. But what really got me was my training instructor. He was a Air Force cop before he became a TI. And he pulled me and like 5 other guys into his office. And he's like, hey, chill. He's like, just chill out for a minute. Of course we're recruits and we can't freaking do anything other than parade rest at that point. But he's like, hey, listen, he goes, I was a cop in the Air Force. He goes, you guys are going to get treated like shit. Just so you know that. It's the worst job in the Air Force. When everybody else is doing something fun, you guys are going to be doing the shit. And it's like, okay, whatever. I didn't get it, And then we graduate from basic training, and like all the guys in my flight are leaving, and they're like, dancing and galloping and getting in buses and leaving and flying off to their training. And who's standing there at the training squadron? All the cops.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he's like, see, I told you, you guys are the last ones to leave. He's like, see, get used to it. You guys are going to be the first ones there and the last ones to leave. And it was like, okay, this still isn't catching on to me. Bus pulls up. There's a bunch of other guys on there. We get on the bus and everything. And I was kind of up towards the front. And there's this big dude. And he's got all these tats and everything. And he's like, yeah, you guys are going to be, security police, right? And we're like, yeah, sir, And he's like, yeah, I was a cop in the Air Force. So right away, everybody's like asking him a million questions. And, he's kind of giving that same vibe. Well, he pulls up to the squadron, the cop squadron. It's called the jailhouse. And they don't do this anymore, but they used to have jail bars all the way around the cop squadron. And you can only go in one way and you got to come out one way. And they told us it was going to be like almost going back to basic training when we got there. So we roll up, and I remember this big guy grabbing that bus handle and swinging that door open. And he's like, well, good luck, fuckers. He's like, just so you know, cops eat their own young. I didn't understand what that meant until years later, because that was a very cutthroat career field. I mean, we fucked with each other 24 hours a day. Now, our dorms, I'll swear to this, my grave, Air Force cop dorms are the rowdiest, biggest partying dorms. They're always like, all the other dorms are over here. Cop dorms always closest to the flight line, where it's always
I love they call them dorms, not barracks.
Yeah, dorms, man.
Dorms. Dormitories.
And I had a suite mate.
A suite mate. These are the terms I didn't know.
No, I teach you some
I should write these down so I could use these against you later. But
yeah. So and as soon as we get off the bus, they come up and they're right in our face. They're yelling, screaming. We're doing push-ups and everything else. It's like, Jesus, what did I get myself into? But tech school was a lot of fun. Air base ground defense. Everything that we did was an Army manual. With the exception of, the parts that had, like squad formations, fire team formations, heavy left, heavy right, all that stuff was straight out of the Army infantry manual. And unless it was incorporated specifically for, installation security or anything like that, flight line security. So that was that part of it. And then we went into the security police side of it, which was, more learning law enforcement, working the main gates and that kind of stuff. And then, it was a lot of fun. I started drinking a lot though when I was in San Antonio, because this is what they taught. This was a reward. They're like, hey, they take us in for an airman's call, like on a Friday night. And they'd be like, hey, if you give blood, we'll phase you up so you can go off base and without being in uniform. So like, and the blood mobiles would be lined up out in front of the squadron. So we'd all go, hey, right here, buddy, get our card signed and everything, go jump in our civilian clothes. And right there's all the taxis waiting for us. And we'd go down to the Riverwalk and we'd get shit faced, and then we'd come back, and Friday night we'd go out. Saturday morning, they'd have us fall out in that Texas heat and stand in formation for 3 hours doing absolutely nothing, because they knew we were all fucking wasted, get us up at 6:30 in the morning and make us just stand there and sweat. And then they'd just be like, okay, go back to your rooms. We'd all change and we'd go right back down to the Riverwalk and do it all over again.
Riverwalk's a great place to party, by the way.
Oh, it was great. It was a blast. So then I got my orders to go to Altus, Oklahoma. And that was different. Being from Pennsylvania, I went home for a week, did my leave after, tech school, went down to Oklahoma, and I get off at Lawton, Oklahoma, where Fort Sill is. So didn't have a ride in my base, and I had this couple that just met me in the airport, this tiny little airport. Like, I swear we were spraying crops as we were coming in this tiny little airport in Lawton, and it's like a 45-minute drive from Lawton to Altus, and it's like desert. Like, there's tumbleweed, there's like adobe, houses and stuff. It's like, I'm waiting for
there's no electricity. Horses running around.
Like, I'm waiting for an Indian attack, right?
ready for the group that got custard to come running out. But
And
no, but in all seriousness, Oklahoma is like pretty barren.
That
So
part
even
of
today,
it
like
is,
it still is like, I think it's one of the craziest things of like the population and like Oklahoma City, and like it's like if you go out of like the major cities, there's like nothing out there. It's like holy shit, except for like oil wells.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania, if you want to go from here to here, you got to go this way. Oklahoma's just got grid roads and they're numbered, right? So, yeah, we get there, and I can remember we crossed these railroad tracks, and there was a John Deere dealer there, and there was these massive tractors. I've never seen tractors like that because there's a lot of farming out there too. And then I can see the flight line, and it was all C5s. You know, C5 is the biggest plane in the inventory. And we had C-17s, we had 141s. So we had all big, heavy planes, and we were training base for them. We were the Air Education Training Command. So we were training base for those aircraft, the Loadmaster School, the Boomer School for the refuelers, and then all the pilots learning how to fly those planes. And get there to my base. And of course, they didn't know I was coming. They're like, who the fuck are you? You know, I'm like, well, I'm one of the new guys. They're like, well, nobody told us you were coming. I'm like, great. We don't want no new guy. This is great, you know? So yeah, go through some training, get on flight. And I didn't like it, man. I had a couple guys that I worked with that were just dicks. They just fuck with you. You know, they do as they say, not as I do. You know, I had a supervisor, tech sergeant, and she didn't meet any of the physical fitness requirements. Chain smoked like crazy. Don't smoke in the cars. But she'd been there smoking in the cars, you know, and then getting on to me because, you know, I did a little bit on my PT standards. I wasn't quite where she thought I should be. And it's like, really? Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah. So I didn't care for it. And then it was a lot of sitting on the flight line, you know, and, you know, I can remember getting asked to go on my first deployment. And it was this part of the flight line was called SrA. So if you take like a big, like a Walmart parking lot, very large, you can park like 2 C5s out there and maybe a 141. So it's big, but it's not. And our chief come out. He's, you know, E9. He comes out, and guy I was working with, his wife was pregnant, and he's talking about this deployment to Saudi Arabia. And the guy I was with, he's like, well, yeah, chief, I can't go. He's like, yeah, I know your wife's pregnant. No big deal. Blah, 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 you know, and he cuts ways, and he's driving away. And the guy I'm with is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm like, what? And he's like, he was asking you if you wanted to go on that deployment. And I was like, he was? He's like, listen, either volunteer or be voluntold. You know, and he's like, I'll tell you what, if you want to do things in this career field, start volunteering for stuff like that. Make yourself look better. I'm like, okay. So went over, picked up the phone, called back to the desk, direct line. I'm like, hey, chief was just out here. Tell him I want to go to Saudi. So it's probably like September, October of 97. And we were leaving to go to Saudi in January. So I'm already signed up to go on my first deployment. Don't even really know how to do my job yet, you know, at that base. And I'm already kicking out to go on a deployment to the desert. Like, where the hell Saudi Arabia? Like, I didn't even know, you know, without looking on a map. Right. So yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
And just went on a deployment chain after that, right?
Well, went to Saudi. That's like a culture shock. Yeah. It was 1998. Went to Saudi, January to, it was like June.
You're just saying dorms or barracks?
Tense city.
Wow, you were saying intense. Wow,
yeah, we were staying in tense city. The dormitory wasn't built yet. It was built, but it wasn't secured because Bin Laden's family had built the dormitories there. So we lived in tent city, and that was really neat. It was really neat to watch that's watching the Air Force in action. That's like every bit of the Air Force all running at once. The fighters, the refuelers, all the reconnaissance planes, you know, watching, you know, the whole base operations, the way the Air Force is built to operate. It was really cool. You know, my inner geek, my, you know, I like planes, you know, watching F-15s taking off and salute the pilots and everything. That was really cool. We went over with a 13-man team. We kind of were a mix of guys that there was a handful of us that were pretty new. One of the guys on my team, Airman Lowe, this is my first experience with suicide. One of the guys on my team, we went out on post one day. We worked 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and he had a flight line post on one of the entry control points. I think it was Echo 1, and went out there, and that post had a phone on it, and you could kind of bounce phones around and get a call back to home through that. And everybody kind of knew that. So everybody kind of wanted to get on that post every now and then so they could call home. And the best I remember is he got a phone call with his girlfriend. Some kind of a conversation occurred and he chose to take his life. And he took his M16 and took his life out on that post. And I was out on one of the perimeter patrols that night, you know, of course they call us in, all us guys from Altus, you know, and they kind of herded us around and told us what happened. And it was a weird feeling because there was no indication of any of that was going to happen. The best I remember, that guy, he was a young kid. He's from Texas. He's like playing basketball. He was a talented basketball player, you know, always seemed upbeat. Never, I don't remember any indication that he would be somebody that would want to take his life. But then the attack came from the Air Force. You know, why didn't you guys catch this? Why didn't you say something? Why didn't one of you guys, you know, tell us this was going on? And it's like, what do you mean? Right? Well, if you've got a problem, well, go talk to the chaplain. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't want to talk to the chaplain. Because the other thing I'm worried about too is, well, if I show any sign of weakness or I show any sign of freaking mental, you know, incapacitation or anything, what are they going to do? They're going to take away my clearance. They're going to take away my weapon. And then I'm going to lose the career that I want, right? I want to go be a cop somewhere someday. So I can't harpoon this because I'm having a bad day because somebody took their lives. And I remember being like very angry about it, like being like, fuck him. Who was he to do that? Because on my end of it, I was having suicidal ideations of my own at that point in my life.
When did that start for you?
That started like probably in middle school, more so probably in high school. I can remember the first time I really considered killing myself was probably about 9th or 10th grade.
Yeah, I've had, and we talked to a lot of guys about that. I don't know if I'd be able to zero that one down yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when it first started. But yeah, I know. I mean, I think there was like two, you know, it was raining like strong, like 2 or 3 years in the military, I think probably.
Yeah.
For me, you know what I mean? Just what was going on. But I remember having that feeling, but it was different. I mean, like, you know, I feel like that time frame, like it didn't have as much attention as it had now, right? Like when that happened, there was like, yeah, you were kind of like, it wasn't even like, I don't know if you're angry at those people. It was me. It was like, those guys are weak. You know what I mean? That's how it was for us. It's like that person just couldn't cut it or something. You know what I mean? Or something happened. That's kind of how my mentality was. But in the meantime, like you, I was like, I just don't have had the courage to actually do it. You know what I mean? That's
exactly.
That's how it was for a long
well,
time.
That was my mentality. I was like, how dare he?
Yeah. How dare he do what I want to do?
Exactly. How dare he do what I wanted to do?
Yeah.
And that's, I can say this okay now, right?
Yeah.
I'm complete with that. We have language for that. But that's how I was feeling back then. But that was a shift for me. Like I got back from that deployment and like I said, I had these supervisors, I had these guys that always kind of fucked with me. And then I was off the handle. Like my anger, like I had anger issues before that, but my anger like really started to climb after that. Like, leave me the fuck alone. You don't know what I fucking went through. And we get back to our base and they do an airman's call and they talk about his freaking suicide. And it's like, just let it go, man. Stop fucking bringing this up. It was like, it could never go away. But then in the back of my mind, it's like, man, what could I have done to keep that from happening? Right. There's that survivor's guilt. There's that, well, maybe I should have stopped it, but I didn't know. So we go into that, and then my base started doing an operation readiness inspection. An operation readiness, I don't know what you guys have in the Army, but when they do an ORI, everything on base every rock gets turned over. This is where people get commands. This is where people lose commands. So we started doing the training where you got in the 44-man team. And that's where I went to Desert Warfare School. And that was a lot of fun. I liked that. It was kind of cool because we had, so this is where Boy Scouts came in handy. We had those like ancient GPS systems. I mean, you remember those with like with the screens that like hardly work?
Plug or the other hole.
Yeah, that. Well, that thing went out on us. So I whip out my Boy Scout compass and navigated us home. And we get back, and the cadre's like, how the hell did you guys get back? I'm like, map and a compass. Like, where'd you learn that? And I was like, Boy Scouts.
Yeah, when you look at that old plugger, it was like I can't. I think it was like that big too. It was like it had a big old antenna on it. It was like
right.
This is how you.
I just remember like these,
now
like,
you can like
diamonds
now you can look
like,
at your watch and
yeah.
tell you where you're going. It's like it's a different time frame.
So we were doing that ORI, and the opportunity come to go to Turkey. So I volunteered for it because I was like, what the hell? Turkey would be fun. So I heard, there's guys that I knew that went to Turkey, and they said it was a pretty good deployment. So we go over to SrA. That was fun. We lived in tents there too. But that was a little more civilized. Like we'd go off base. We had the alley. You got all these shops downtown and everything. I bought 3 shotguns while I was there that I have. Those are pretty neat. But we do a lot of drinking there. Couldn't drink at Saudi, but you could drink like crazy in freaking Turkey, and we did. And I got pictures of, like me and my supervisor were like all these Jim Beam and Jack Daniels bottles, like in this big tower that we had built on our kitchen table in our tent. Right. And did a lot of drinking there. And the one day my supervisor and I go over to the morale tent so we can make phone calls and you can get on the computer there. And he had to call back to base every so often. Right. And I'm standing out front of the tent, and his name is John Tolbert. John comes out. He's like, hey, our flight chief back in the States is going to lead a team to Saudi in January, back to PSAP. And I'm like, I want to go. And he's like, what? He's like, you're on a deployment. He's like, you're going to volunteer to go back to Saudi. Nobody volunteers to go back to Saudi. I'm like, I don't care. I'm fucking going. I'm like, go tell him I want to go. So he goes back in, because he's just the type of guy that he's like, okay, calls back, comes back out. And he's like, all right, you're on the team. You're leaving in January. So we got back in October, and then I was back wheels up in January, go back to PSAP.
So looking back now, why do you think you were fighting on these deployments?
The exact reason was I remember telling people, I need to go on these deployments so nobody dies. I need to make sure nobody dies. I need to, and I would say fucked up things though. I would say things like, make sure none of you fuckers blow your head off, or, really sick and disgusting things. I would say, like, I did that to like intimidate people, but I also did that to keep people away from me. But that's also some of what I was feeling though too. So there was that. Well, if I go, this can't happen again. Mm-hmm. So we went back to, get done with Turkey. I came home for a little bit over that was during Y2K. I came home. Remember that chaos? I come home.
Have we ever talked about Y2K? I don't think we have. I'm glad you brought. We've never talked about that.
So I went home on Y2K.
Let's talk about Y2K though. The people don't know. It's like that was the dumbest fucking concept that was going. Remember, everyone was terrified that like planes were gonna fall like computer systems they didn't figure out how it was going to reset to another thing. It was like they were worried about, people were literally talking about not flying because planes were going to fall out of the sky. And I remember I'm not a smart guy, but I was just like, this can't fucking possibly be it was like a Simpson episode. Everybody was, there were people like legitimately worried about that. Like they thought like financial things were in collapse. Like, oh God, we didn't figure out how to ring it from 99 to like the 2000. I'm like, how the fuck did we not figure this out? You know what I mean? And then but the plane thing, it cracked me up when people were like, because I think like my mom honestly was one of those people. She was like, oh gosh, plane's going to fall out of the sky. Make sure. And I'm like, the fuck are we talking about here? It's like, and then when a part of me wanted that to happen too, because not that extreme, but like you want to see like what was going to happen. Then 2000 rolls in, it's like nothing. There wasn't a single.
I was out partying.
The only thing that was hard is to start writing the date. You were like, when you had to write the date, you're like,
yeah.
Shit.
How do we do 0-0?
Yeah, like today,
That doesn't
you
make
put
sense.
Excel in there today. You have to like, you put today's date. It automatically feeds to 2025. Like you just have to handwrite it. You'd be like, 19. What shit? That's the hardest part of like Y2K was actually writing the year 2000.
Well, my roommate and I, we're both like, we're going home because we're like, I'm not going to be stuck in the Air Force if the world comes to an end. I'm going to fight at the homeland.
Like missiles are flying off. Like what's
I'm going to be on my home turf if things go bad.
Oh God!
But we actually believe that, because there was so much.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of shit going on about that. I mean, it was like a lot of worry. I mean, they thought the financial shit was going to crash. Like banking accounts would be screwed up.
Right.
Like
people were hoarding.
Planes were like cars. It was just like, dude, what? Like, and nothing happened. I mean, the only thing could have been came out was like Party Like It's 1999. I don't think that was 1999 that song came out.
Like some of the cars, like the clocks wouldn't reset the right way. That was like the most, right? That probably maybe happened.
Yeah, that's the time when you had to like actually reset clocks.
Yeah,
like everything resets itself now. You know what I mean? In your car, you just push a button.
Yeah, you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, why wouldn't they figure that in microwaves though? Like microwaves, ovens, like you know what I'm saying? Like why can't they auto?
I got Wi-Fi on my microwave. But,
yeah, but what do you have Wi-Fi?
Yeah, there's Wi-Fi or something on it.
On your like, I don't have a Wi-Fi.
I don't know.
What do you need a Wi-Fi?
I have no
microwave
idea.
for though.
I don't know. My former self used to think all these conspiracy things. Why they had Wi-Fi?
Yeah, those like when you start like you ever go to like the store now? I'm glad. Like I love how we get off topic, which levels like just because I was at Lowe's the other day getting something, and you walk by like a refrigerator, and they're like it's like has more like chips and technology in it than like
they can tell if you're
cars do.
Like
you can take a picture of the inside of your refrigerator from like remotely while you're at the store, and I'm just like,
no.
What?
No, I don't want that.
Not that it would help. It would actually help because like then you come home and your wife said, "Did you get creamer?" Oh shit! But if I would have been able to, but then that's cool technology. But then you look at the price of like refrigerators; they're like 4K for like these refrigerators. I'm like,
and they don't last for nothing,
bro. Like 4K for like $5,000 for a fucking refrigerator. That was like,
they can tell
that me a Mustang.
That tells me I need milk.
God, that's nuts, man. I mean, I think that's, and then we can't even have a microwave that changes its time. I mean, or the stove, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that was one of the shockers. That's one of the things that the refrigerator has become like a crazy.
Or my phone will auto correct the dumbest words.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's on purpose.
Can we focus our technology?
I think there's some really smart dude that's like, I know what they're trying to say, but let's just program it that this comes up and you're like, I did not mean to say that.
Yeah, my phone
but you can do that like in the phone. Like I think you can do that with words. I think my kids did that to my wife for a little bit on something. Sometimes she types something, it would throw a different word. But like, that's some guy. It's like, I got something for you.
I would do that.
Fucking, I would too if I knew how to do it. I'd be like, I got something for you too. No, but yeah, the Y2K. What crazy. Yeah, we won't be alive for the Y3K. I wonder what they'll do then. I mean, that could legitimately be a problem because everything is tied into. By then, there won't be, everything that could be. Y3K could be. Yeah, we'll all be gone. The world might not exist.
Yeah, who knows?
Y3K.
It's out of my control at that point. That's out of my control now.
But back to the question I had. So, why were you like you said? You had the story of why you were going on these appointments. Why were you really going?
I've always said I was also craving one flavor of toxicity for another. Yep. Living in Altus, Oklahoma was I wasn't.
So I didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I was just doing my job. Just do my job. Get the hell out of my way. Do my job. And I was. Everybody knew I had like this anger thing. Don't fuck with Sider. He knows the shit. I was I was a weapons guy. Like I knew everything about my fucking guns. So I had that reputation. I'm a Sider's gun guy. All this kind of stuff, and like I would try to push people as far away from me as possible, yet try to fit in, right? And nobody fucking wanted me to be around them because I had such a toxic personality, and then it's like, man, this guy's going on all these damn deployments. Usually a guy back then, you only went on one deployment in 4 years. I know now guys go on these crazy year-long deployments and all this other stuff to compare. It's that comes later when I talk about going to save a warrior, right? I didn't think I was worthy because I didn't do enough. So yeah, I went back to Saudi Arabia again, and that was only a 3-month deployment because by then they changed TDYs from 4 months to 3 months. And then we lived in the dorms. We didn't live in the tents.
I just love that you call them dorms. I love it.
Yeah.
The dorms.
But I mean, that was, I think it was just another deployment to Saudi.
Yeah.
Right. And anybody that's been over the desert, that I don't care what you're doing, whether you're in combat or not, just living in that environment.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like 97, 98, 99, like that time frame. Like there wasn't like we weren't at war yet.
Right.
So going on deployments was like the closest thing you were going to get. Like it was like a check the block, like to be cool.
Well,
yeah. You also got money for it.
Right.
Right. But it was just like the cool, like it was a way to talk shit. You know what I mean? Like going to Korea, that was a way to talk shit. Like I'm going to I mean,
well, I wanted to see.
Yeah, I was like really close to DMZ, but I did a lot of drinking. I did a lot of partying.
Right.
And a lot of working out and working in that same. Mm-hmm. That's all we really did, right? Routine. But there's a lot of talking. There was a lot of like, if you'd been to like, if you were at Fort Sill for 6 years, but if you went to Korea for a year and then you went to Germany, or if you got a chance to go to Kosovo at the time, that was a big deal. People were like, oh shit, this guy's been like,
right.
In the, they've been in the shit or whatever, I mean? And that was the way back then deployments were, a status thing. I mean, you most likely went there, you got more money, you got some kind of medal from it, some type of recognition. Yeah. You became a subject matter expert that other people weren't, because a lot of people, like most people didn't want to do that. That's the craziest thing. Most people are like, I'm not going to fucking Saudi Arabia. Right, I'm not doing that. Or they did want to go, but they didn't go because they had a girlfriend or wife. Right. Well, it's like it's just a vicious circle going on, like the vicious. Right. But at that time, it's before 9/11 kicked off, so there wasn't like I remember hearing about guys going to Kosovo and be pissed off that these guys got to go to Kosovo, because like in your mind they're like, oh, these guys are doing real army shit, real. They're. Yeah. And yeah, they saw some stuff, but it wasn't the same thing. That little did we know, be careful what you ask for, because it's it shows up in 2001, you know what I mean? Right. But so when did you start realizing that all that deployment, what happened, losing an airman, where he was a person, when did you start realizing that was starting to affect you PTS wise?
When I got off the bus after the second deployment to Saudi, and everybody's got family waiting for him or friends or whatever, ain't nobody waiting for me but the chief. And he was great guy, Chief Davis. He comes over, shakes my hand. He's like, hey, man, he goes, thanks for going on a deployment, but he's like, no more. He goes, finish off the rest of your time. I had like a year and a half left, not even a year and a half left. And he's like, hey, finish off the rest of your time. He's like, save some fun for everybody else. I'm like, yes, sir, no problem. Right. So I had this week-long FBI sniper school I wanted to go to, because I was like, hey, that's a resume bullet, right? Because I'm going to get out, I'm going to go get these great jobs, so I need all this. I need another piece of paper that's got my name on it. I always called it my Love Me book, my 3-ring binder that's got all my stuff in it, right? It's my Love Me book. So I'm like, I want to go to that. He's like, no problem. He goes, you've done more than enough. I'm like, cool. So I'm living off base at the time, and I get a phone call one day from our mobility center. They're like, hey, it's like 2 months after I come back from Saudi. They're like, hey, Chief wants you to come out to mobility center. You're going on a deployment. I'm like, oh, fuck, I am. They're like, no, you're going on a deployment. I'm like, he told me I didn't have to go on anymore. And he's like, well, he picked you to go on this. And I'm like, okay, well, this has got my interest piqued. I'm like, where am I going? Where in the Middle East am I going now? Right. Because that's all we ever did back then. They're like, you're going to South America. The fuck is in South America? They're like, we can't say anything, OPSEC, COMSEC, all that kind of stuff. They're like, just come out. So I went out there. My team was out there, 13-man team and everything. And we sit down with all the people to give us all the briefing on what we're going to do. And essentially it was guarding a C-130 that was flying from Ecuador out over South America, out over the Gulf, and coming back and doing like drug trafficking. It was one C-130 that we guarded. An occasional Navy plane would come in, and that was it.
They were doing the drug trafficking or guarding? I'm kidding.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I said that wrong. So
I'll give you a hard time. Counter
drug activity, right? All I know is
the C-130 was running drugs in South America.
The C-130 could listen in on a lot of shit that
yeah.
nobody knew what the fuck was going on, right? So when we get there, first of all, flying in Ecuador was one thing. We go out on the ramp, and there is this junk heap freaking aircraft sitting out there, Ecuadorian Airlines, and they got the ladder out the ass end of the plane. And one of the guys I was going over there with, he's from Georgia, and he just he called me Slider all the time. He's like, Slider? He's like, any plane you got to go in the ass end of isn't a good thing, you know? And they might as well have had shag carpeting. Like all the freaking Ecuadorian, they had either high heels or knee-high boots and short skirts, the stewardesses. And, you know, we were waiting for the chickens to come out, you know, but we ended up landing in Manta, Ecuador. They had us in civvies and everything. They're like, hey, you guys can't go out right now. They think that the DEA is here. So they drive us. You think the dormitories was bad. They drive us to a Marriott hotel, 5-star Marriott hotel in Manta, Ecuador, 100 yards from the beach, if that. And it's like 14 stories up. And they're like, hey, this is where you guys are living. We're like, okay.
Finally, my deployments have paid off.
This is awesome. So my first day in Ecuador, I was drinking 1 liter Pilsner Ground Days that cost 80 cents, watching them burn American flags out on the beach. And then a day and a half later, they're like, okay, it's all clear. You guys can go down to the beach again. You know, protest is over. They don't care. So that was 30 days. I mean, we were there for like 35, 40 days. That was 35, 40 days of drinking. That was going to work drunk. They told us we could have 2 guests a day. That was when they gave us the briefing. They were like, here's your condoms. Like, what are these for? They're like, you'll see when you get there. That was a good deployment. It was a lot of fun. Spent a lot of time sitting down on the beach, drinking, you know, margaritas and eating fresh seafood. We watched the fishing boats.
I love how you make this deployment. Everyone's like, how the fuck do I go on that deployment?
No, it was an awesome deployment, man. The Navy would come in every now and then, and, you know, they'd anchor their boat, and we'd go out to the bars, and the Navy had to be like back in on the boat by like 1:30. You know, shore patrol would come in and everything. We're like, bye.
That's one of my friends is a Air Force guy, Ohio, Air National Guard. And he, one time, the one deployment is on, he was sending pictures. He was at a 5-star, you know, hotel. And we're like, come on, Phil, like, are you really deployed? He's like taking pictures of them. I'm like, come on, man. But hey, you guys chose the right branch. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
So you get out not long after that.
Yeah, that pretty well was it. I was on the fence for a little while. We had a couple guys that were reservists that were Department of Energy guys. They did like nuclear materials career. Kind of really like talked to them. I was like, man, I kind of think that'd be kind of a neat job. I applied for that. I was getting pretty far in the hiring process with that. We had another augmentee that would come in. She was Oklahoma State trooper. She was really cool. You know, I was like, man, I kind of want to go home and be a PA trooper too. So I remember calling home to my dad, and I'm like, hey, I think this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come out. I'm going to join the Guard so I can at least stay in, still have connection to the Air Force, still be able to maybe make rank, maybe carry it on and just get a retirement out of it. And I gave myself 2 years. I said, if I can't get a real job doing something that provides for a family that's good money, I'll go back in. Mm-hmm. So I decided to go into the National Guard. You could go to college for free in Pennsylvania. So I had college lined up at State College, and I was going to go back into criminal justice. I had a bunch of college credits. So it was like, it's not going to take me long to get my 4-year degree. And I'm in a different mindset now, you know, and it's on me now. Right. So I called my dad, and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about coming home. I said, but here's the deal. Are you going to fuck with me? He's like, oh no, Jay. It's going to be great. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be cool. You know, and he built a room above his garage and everything that I could stay in. And I'm like, all right, this might work out. So I moved back home and everything. And it's not 2-3 weeks later, my dad starts fucking with me. When are you going to get a job? When are you going to get a job? When are you going to do this? You're not going to do this. And I'm like, and I'm still rackety and messed up from a lot of shit that happened in the Air Force. We didn't even touch on some things. Right. And it's like, leave me the fuck alone. I just got done doing all this shit. I went on 4 deployments while I was in there. I had a guy fucking kill himself. I'm refusing to go to the VA for anything because I'm in denial of anything going on. My anger is off the hook, you know, and he's always up my ass about how angry I was, but he kept fucking with me too. You know, it's like, just let me get to college in the fall, you know, and I started going to college, but I was out drinking every night over that summer. I got home in April and my buddy was out of the Air Force. So we were out drinking every night. And I think that played a part in it. And he was kind of in his rights to be kind of jumping my shit though, looking back at it, you know, because that's all I was doing was going out and drinking and spending my money, but I wasn't costing him a dime. I'd go down and work at the air base, make some money. You know, I'd call down there. They're like, hey, anytime you want to come down, you want to do a couple duty days, just call us. You know, so I'd go down and work. You know, I went back to Desert Warfare School, made some money, you know, had car paid off. So everything was pretty good. And then the VA was going to give me a job when I went to college. So I was going to do like security or something at the VA hospital. So everything was kind of lining up. Went back to college. That was different. Being 25. Now I'm the old guy in school. But my outlook on the world was different, right? You go overseas and you see different things. And now you go sit in a college liberal classroom where you got a professor, you know, talking shit on the country. And you're like, wait a minute. I just lived 4 years where nobody did that. Right. And that was really always bothering me. And, but I was actually doing really good in school. I was getting good grades. I was really enjoying it. And then one day I'm driving to school and it had like a sub campus I was going to. I'm driving down the interstate, listening to the radio. I'm in my Mustang and they're talking about something on the radio, about planes. And I'm like, whatever. Throw in the Alice in Chains CD, get to school and everything. Walk in the classroom and one of the kids there has got a radio sitting on the windowsill and they're listening to the radio. It's 9/11. And they're talking about the planes hitting the buildings. And I'm like, holy shit. And this is my political science class. And this professor was like really liberal. He walks in, he's like, what are you guys listening to? And they're like, they just had planes flying to the World Trade Center. And he's like, I don't care. Turn that off. We ain't got time for that. And I'm sitting there like, holy shit, this is an act of war. Right. This is 2 planes hitting the World Trade Center is not normal. So the whole time my freaking legs going, I'm sitting there in class. I can't concentrate. Class breaks. I go out in the hallway. There's a TV monitor out in the lobby. Everybody's circled around it. And I can remember the newscaster saying, all U.S. troops are currently in ThreatCon Delta. And I just said, oh, fuck, out loud. And a guy like on the other side of the crowd says like the same thing. We look at each other and we're both running for our cars. We're running down, we're exchanging, you know, hey, what unit are you in? You know, it's like, fuck, man, this ain't good. You know, the Pentagon got hit, and other planes down in Pennsylvania. Who knows? You remember, right? Like, we didn't know what the hell was going on back then. I go charging back home. I'm thinking, man, I start packing my bags because I'm thinking at any moment the guard unit's going to call me. You know, we're going to roll. I'm like, fuck yeah, I got Metallica playing. And then nothing happened.
No calls came.
No call came. No, it was like a month and a half.
You guys gonna call me?
It's like, I did. I called down one time and I'm like, hey, you guys need me? And they're like,
nope.
No, we're good. I'm like, you realize this thing happened? They're like, yeah, we're good.
Like, yep.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then I got the call when I least expected it.
Exactly.
And went down to Pope, got activated, went down, you know, that was kind of a real kick in the ass, was turning in that, you know, National Guard ID card.
When were you at Pope? 2001? You were at Pope when I was at Bragg.
That would have been a month and a half after 9/11. So that was October, November. Yeah, because I was there for Thanksgiving.
I was probably bitching at you all the time. I try to go over to Pope to the good gym.
Yeah, when you guys wanted to eat in our chow hall, like,
go to the good gym or come go over in airborne operations.
Yeah,
it would be like that's the worst when you had an airfield connected to you, and then you realize how bad of a decision you made because you could just look over and see when we go to Pope and be like, wow, everything is like so nice over here.
Well, it's pretty bad that you thought Pope was nice. Because
No, I mean it was.
Pope,
I mean, you
Pope,
were there. You were a brag. You drive a car. Like the old way used to be. I think if you came from that one, I can't remember if the gate is at Pope, but if you came into like you saw all these like World War II, like brag buildings. It was like you'd be like, Jesus, we went back in time to like 1940s over here. Like you go over there and be like
you go on to Army base. It felt like you were like in a national park.
Dude, it was
like the U.S. Forestry Service.
Is like I make fun of you as much as I want to, but it's honestly the truth. Like you're in the same military, but you're just living different worlds, man.
But I'm telling you, man,
the Air Force, it's just a different world, man. Like there's just like
Pope was a shithole though.
But but not us. It was like you're like, this is a pretty good place. I mean, look at the gym is nice. Like, I mean, because there's never any fucking Air Force people at the gym, so you just go over there and be like, and you can get in because there's nobody there. You know, what I mean, then we got run out of there because they're like, you can't come over here. You're like, right. Nobody's using this gym. You know what I mean? But you Army guys can't get out. You know what I mean? Yeah. But no, when you just look at whenever you talk to Air Force people, like they're living in dorms and hotels. We're like, what the fuck what did I get myself into?
But that was the majority of the Air Force.
Yeah.
But security, security police, everybody go home on Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. We were the only ones left.
And I joke around about it now because it is one of the things that like military branches fuck with each other all the time.
Yeah.
But it's reality of the thing. It's like it gets to some people. Like you don't realize that. Like you make jokes. Like like you and I are close. That's the only reason I'm making jokes about it.
Right.
Partially. But but I mean, there's a lot of people that get wrapped up on that, because and we give each other shit about everything. If you found out I found out like one of I think I've told a story before, but like one of the guys, captains of Korea, was living in the same place we were living. His place was furnished and he was getting like $600 more a month because it was uninhabitable for an Air Force officer. I'm like, what the but you like we like constantly just badgered that guy about that. And I'm like, he has no control of that. You know what I mean? It's just it is one of those weird things and it ties to what we talk about. We go into a culture that just fucks with each other all the time. How you look, your weight, how your uniform looks, how your boots look, like whether you've shaved. If I beat you in it was just like all the time. Dog eat dog all the time, like every single thing. Like you're just right. Like, yeah, it's like, and even like your closest buddies, like nothing was worse than like your buddies beating you or something. Like, honestly, because you're just like, it was a driving force, I think, to drive you to but that's why I think that works so well. It's like you're just in direct competition with each other. Oh, and it's just like it just breeds like these this whole thing of like, look at me. You know what I mean? It
goes back to that bus driver saying cops eat their own young.
Yeah, the military eats its own.
Yeah, it does. 100%. Absolutely. And because the cops we screwed with all the other parts of the air base. We screwed with finance. We screwed with because it was our base, right? We'd have an airman's call and the base commander, cops always sat down in the front corner, and when the base commander's pointing to us, going, "These are my fucking cops. You do what they fucking say," and it's like, but
don't forget they don't have ammo at Pope. No, I'm kidding.
No, we had ammo. No, we always had ammo. Army never had ammo.
But we could talk. We don't have all night, but I want to kind of not blow through, but like move towards some other stuff. So one last question about the military, if you're okay with it, is like, so what was your mindset? Like you've been in for 4 years, you did these deployments, 9/11 comes, you're getting deployed stateside, you're seeing like the military like ramping up, like real deployments to Afghanistan. A couple years later is to Iraq. Like was there a party that was like, I'm missing out on it, or was there any of that kind of, what was going on for you at that time?
When I was Pope, they had a deployment to Afghanistan. Well, at that point, my where I was mentally, like I had this absolute disdain for the Air Force. You fucking activated me, took me out of college. You activated all these other guys. I was activated with a bunch of guys that were all civilian cops. So they've all got families and everything else. And now their police departments are in it, and they're treating us like crap. Our guard unit didn't get paid the same thing all the other guard units got paid. So it was like, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. This is crazy. This is chaos. But the deployment to Afghanistan came up, and they're like, yeah, you don't have any experience in the Middle East. That sent me off the deep end. I'm like, I fucking was over there 3 times, and I I used to hang out with the Saudis and like the Turks and learn Arabic just for something to do. You're sitting with them for 12 hours, might as well learn how to, you know, talk each other's language, right? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? But looking back at it, where I was back then, I wouldn't have deployed me. Yeah, I was drinking. Yeah. There was rumors of me getting in a police chase on Fort Bragg with my Mustang, that the MPs chased me one time. That didn't happen, but kind of a cool story. I wish it would happen. That would have been kind of fun.
It didn't happen. No.
But no, they wouldn't deploy me. And that really kind of like really set me off the deep end. I got back down to Pittsburgh. I got an application for the Pennsylvania State Police then. One of the guys that I was activated with had just got out of State Police Academy. He's like, hey, fill out this application. I was like, well, that's something I always wanted to do, right? So I did that and started working my way doing that. Back then, the hiring process for PSP was about a year long, and a lot of people were applying. Took the test, and I don't remember. Yeah, it's somewhere between 1,500 maybe 2,000 applicants, and I was like 171 out of all that. And I was like, damn, I did pretty fucking good. And then my military points brought me down in like the 40s. And it was like, okay. So then I'm kind of like getting back in this mentality, like, okay, this is the thing I'm going to do. Like, I'm obsessed with it. I'm working out, I'm running, I'm studying. Like, I got to get out. I'm presidentially activated. I'm stuck here until they let me out, which they weren't going to. I already lost the position with the Department of Energy. They're like, nah, you can't get out for that. You're activated. You're presidentially activated. So I ended up actually getting hired with the state police. I got a conditional letter of employment, went to my command, and they're like, hey, no, we can't let you out. I'm like, damn it. This is like, which only pissed me off more, right? So I had to write back to the state police and say, can you defer me to the next class? Well, back then they were like, yeah, you only get it one time and then you got to reapply, you know, and you could only apply to the state police twice back then or something like that. And then they wouldn't take you again, something like that. So it was like, man, if this doesn't work, I'm like going to go off the fucking deep end here, you know? So like,
I think he chased me on the flight line at Pope in my Mustang.
Right. So like 2 months later,
you sound like a really stable guy back then.
I was not very stable back then.
Yeah,
sometimes I'm still not stable, right? Old parts of me are not stable.
Wow.
No. So I ended up getting a conditional applyment thing, went back to my command, and they're like, hey, you can get out now. We've got new guys coming in and we can rotate you out into one of those temporary positions. And they're like, but if you want to sign out of the National Guard, you can. You've done your time. Well, you couldn't get me out of there quick enough, you know. And I dropped it and dropped off my gear and boogied the hell out of town.
Yeah, because that's a time I think a lot of people don't understand. Is like you'd see these guys who got mobilized. Because I went to I went to Knox in 2003. Yeah, 2003. And that same thing, ACRC unit. So these guys were getting like mobilized. They were like, what the, like people were flabbergasted. Like, I can't believe this is happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was like, I get it, because it just wasn't what everybody expected. I mean, I joined it to, like you said, to do 20 years and get out. And so, but then there's just that cycle of like the disrupting of people's lives. I mean, a lot of those, like that's when I started to have a lot of respect for them, because like, holy shit. At first I was like, dude, what the fuck did you sign up for the military for? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then I had to go up I went to the reserves myself, and then that started coming after you have your own career. Like you have a career, you're like, that's a tough thing to navigate when all of a sudden they're like, hey, by the way, you got to leave your career because I want you to, involuntary mobilize for 6 months. It's like,
yeah.
Well, I don't know if I really signed up for that. I started gaining a lot of respect. I mean, I used to like bash the shit out of the National Guard and reserves and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm like, man, those guys and gals there's no way we get through 20 years and 2 wars without a lot of that sacrifice those men and women made, like yourself too, like starting off. It's crazy. So yeah, it's whether you went to Afghanistan or you went to Dix or Bragg or whatever to do it, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I remember that being like that involuntary mobilized thing was like looming, and like had to be like shit 2000 10 or 11 or something. And I was like, what the, like, dude, I got out of the Army in 05. I don't want to do this shit anymore. I want to go there once, once a week, once a month, 2 weeks a year.
I had met my, I had met my wife by that point, and it's like, man, I just want to settle down and have some normalcy, whatever normalcy was. I didn't know what normal was. I still don't know what normal is, but, I had a desire for that. And, getting a job, a dream job, a career job, in the state police was that. We had great benefits. We had great pay. And, the Pennsylvania State Police is a shit hot state police agency, still is, and, the first and the finest. They always call us the gray gods, and it was like you're in Ohio
now, though. You might.
Yeah, I know. Jeff Kramer.
I grew up in New York too, so we kind of have the troopers, the purple.
Yeah, the purple ties.
Purple ties.
Yeah.
And,
well, I almost actually while I was in the PA Academy, I got a call from the New York State Police. So there was a temptation to actually leave and go join the New York State Police too. But I always wanted to be a PA trooper from a pretty early age. I always kind of admired those guys. Even my dad held those guys in a higher regard. I remember my dad saying, yeah, you can kind of fuck with a local cop, but don't ever fuck with a statey. Yeah. They'll kick your ass and throw you over the fucking guardrail and go about their day. Right. And so yeah, I got into the state police, and my wife moved up here. My girlfriend at the time moved up here, and she had a baby, and he was only, Xavier was only about 9 months old when we moved up here. And we moved up here December 23rd, 2022. She's probably going to check me on my dates, but December 23rd, 2022, I went in the State Police Academy the 14th of January. She's an Oklahoma girl, doesn't have snow tires, doesn't even own a pair of snow gloves or a winter coat, and doesn't even have heat in her car because you didn't need it in Oklahoma. So we get snow tires on our car. We give her a crash course on how to drive in the snow in Pennsylvania, in Erie. And I go off to the State Police Academy for the next 7 months. And Father's Day, she comes down, and she's got Xavier. He's a year old at this time. And he's my kid, he's my boy. And she hands me this card and I open it up, and it says, "Oh, Happy Father's Day." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And I don't think it was like Father's Day though yet. And she's like, "No, Happy Father's Day." And I'm like, "Oh." So there's many academy.
You remember I had a low ass VAB score, okay?
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, right. Well, she was a cop in the Air Force too, so yeah, she's pregnant with my daughter. And so that whole first year we were together was like a real slingshot. We hadn't even dated. We hadn't even, we really just kind of screwed around together and had fun. And then I came home, and we had a long distance relationship. And then she moved up here. She had her own problems with the Air Force and got out. And she was like, "I'm not moving home. I'm moving up to Pennsylvania with you." Right. And so I'm like, "All right, let's do this." Pretty gutsy, pretty ballsy thing to do. And I go to the State Police Academy. She lives up here, and she's pregnant with my daughter. I come out of the academy. We get stationed down in Franklin, which is Venango County. I didn't want to get stationed up in Erie. I had my choice, which was kind of unique because usually you didn't get your home station right out of the academy. And I actually had my opportunity to do that, and I didn't want it. I didn't want to go back home to where my family was. So the next thing that happened was, my daughter's born on December 24th, 2003. So I have a Christmas Eve baby. She'll be 23 here in a couple weeks. So that first year of being a state trooper is like pretty crazy. Mm-hmm. I'm a brand new dad times two. We got married 2 months before my daughter was born, and to a girl that I didn't know a whole lot about. And she's got her own family trauma that, she's got her own A score that back then I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. Plus she had her own run in the Air Force. It wasn't the greatest. So that first couple of years, we were just volleying stuff back and forth on one another, taking out a lot of our trauma on one another at that point. So
So we could probably talk for like days about 20 years in the state police, but I'm more interested in chatting. Like, we don't have, we have probably about 30 minutes or so left. So,
yeah.
Helicopter. They're looking for us.
They heard that conversation about.
They're coming for you. Josh just freaked us out with the helicopter. I'm like, I thought it was like the Ariana Grande.
Was he dubbing that in?
Have you seen the plane? They're like, helicopter, go away. Have you seen that? I shouldn't have said that, but have you not seen that?
No.
Oh my God, I got to show that video. But I'm going to talk more about, like, obviously for 20 years of policing could take days ago. But I mean, I'm more interested to talk about getting what we're both passionate about. When we both realized things in our life weren't working. When did you realize that, and what made you submit to going to Civil War?
I think there was always we have the language now, the whales in the water, right? But I never knew what they were. And for me, 2011, one of the guys that I worked with, Trooper Paul Ritchie, got killed in the line of duty.
I remember that, yeah.
So I always thought it was going to be cool to go out in a blaze of glory and all this other stuff, and I always joke that you're going to have to, undig my body out of all the brass, from all the rounds I shot and everything else. And I can remember, like, after we went back on duty, after everything with his funeral and all that, I can remember the one night I was down on the interstate and we had a state iron sitting there, and it was freezing rain, and we're watching cars slide past our state iron. And I looked at my midnight partner and I said, going down in a blaze of glory and being 10 feet tall and bulletproof, dying isn't fucking cool anymore. And he's like, what? I was like, dying isn't cool anymore, man. I was like, I used to think I wanted to freaking just who cares? And it's like something clicked then, but I still had another 11 years before 2022 when I signed on the dotted line. Went into the fire unit, started doing fire investigations, started seeing a lot more death, started being exposed to a lot more of that. When you're 3 o'clock in the morning digging bodies out of buildings, that shit wears on you. I had a couple, particularly like my last 2 years, that really hit me hard. Like, I don't want to do this shit anymore. On top of that, I was suicidal the whole time I was a state trooper, like literally driving around. I drove around one day with a fucking gun to my head, hoping somebody would see me, because I was just like, fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore, And then I had that fear of, what am I going to do when I get out? This is all I know. Being in a uniform, having this structure. I got this great career that's going to allow me to retire at 46 years old, because I had 5 years military bought. But what am I going to do after that? So it's like all this stuff is just snowballing on me all at once, right? So COVID hits, and I had three dudes, three different guys come up to me and tell me to file for my VA disability. And I had the same excuse every other veteran has. Oh, I'm not worth it. I don't need it. All this other stuff. Whatever. I get convinced to do it out of these three guys telling me this. I took it as a sign. Started my process doing the VA disability, got 2 really bad VSOs, and I went rogue. I did it on my own. My first VSO refused to put me in for PTSD. Because every time I would talk about something that happened, he'd tell me one of his stories. So much so that he sent me a YouTube video of his buddy being interviewed by Oprah, right?
Sounds totally like the military, one-upping it.
Yeah, every time.
You don't know shit.
Right. So because my first run through all my first claims that he did, he wanted no evidence. He's like, don't submit any paperwork. 25 things all got denied except for tinnitus, right? I got the 10% for tinnitus. Started going to the VA, started seeing a therapist. That didn't go so well. She was a good therapist, but I wasn't a good patient. She actually tried to get me into meditation and mindfulness and stuff like that, stuff that I do now.
Something we're trying to convince other people to do.
Right, exactly. And it's I'm like, screw you, woman. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm
fucking medication. I'm not meditation is stupid.
Right. No, yeah. And then I had a bad run with a VA psychologist. they actually sent me to an outpatient VA psychologist out in the community, care in the community, because I was having a lot of mental cognition issues. Like I probably couldn't have this conversation back then. I was starting to be very thick-tongued. I was losing my memory. Like this was really starting to bother me because like with criminal cases, I was like, I couldn't remember a damn thing about some of the arson cases I had going. I had to like pull my file and stuff. And it's like, man, if I got to get in front of a court and try to testify, I'm not going to be able to do this. So that was really starting to bother me. I found out the VA I found out I had TBI because I had a ground burst simulator go off by me and I had a concussion from that. Didn't realize I had a TBI. So they're like, yeah, you got a mild to moderate TBI. I'm like, I didn't even know what a TBI was at that point. They send me this neuropsyoptic exam, 3-day exam. She runs me through all these like short-term, long-term, goofy little tests and everything. And at the end of it, she looks at me and she says, Jason, you're 46 years old. If you don't figure out what happened to you when you were younger and have a conversation with a younger version of yourself, you're not going to live to see 50. And I'm like, I already was like thinking, I'm going to be one of these guys that retires and within 6 months to a year, I'm going to be dead because I'm either going to have a heart attack or I'm going to kill myself. And now I got a psychologist telling me, you're not going to live to see 50 unless you change your ways. Your way's not working for you. So it wasn't maybe not even a month later, I get my PTSD claim that I filed back in December. I get that back 100% permanent and total just for PTSD. Like fucking nobody gets that. Not to that level, right? They got to work for it. I didn't feel worthy. Parts of me still doesn't feel like I deserve that. Because I know people that really fight for it. But at the same time, I'm going to tell you this: I took the VA to court. I wrote my claim like a felony criminal investigation. You know, these are conditional facts of, you know, subject header format. Here is all my evidence. Mm-hmm. This is what happened. You know, I fought it. I drove my family nuts freaking fighting for that. But then when I got that decision, you know, and it's kind of like saying my A score is a 10. I'm not my score. You know, I have 100% PTSD. I'm not my score on that either. Right. But back then it like really screwed with my head. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, I'm like signing my own death warrant at this time. I call my dad. I'm like, hey, I got 100% just for PTSD. My dad says, I always knew you were fucked up. I'm like, gee, Dad, thanks for the vote of confidence.
I love you too.
Yeah. I love you too. Right. So that started. I also had triple discectomy, quadruple fusion, which it was like, man, am I going to be able to continue doing this job at this point? And I'm coming up on retiring. This is like May, June. I'm coming up on retiring in January. So now it's like, shit, what am I going to do? I'm not going to fucking make it. I'm sitting in the back of the barracks in Franklin one day, got the door shut, lights off and everything else. And I'm like, man, I got to find something. So I started Googling, right? And we know how a certain person we know.
So this
how
is only one of the funniest jokes of Save a Warrior that they don't know about. It's like, we're not going to give away anything, but like, there might be a part where they ask you where you found about Save a Warrior, and you're like the people that Google it always get a little bit of like
a little harassing. But see, I was looking for I didn't want anything for veterans because I had this whole like fuck the Air Force thing.
Yeah. And
I wanted something just for law enforcement. And I started going down that website and like, I'm reading everything on that website and it's like, are these guys like reading my freaking mind?
The funny thing, I never read the website.
Really?
Because I had a couple, like at the same thing with you, I knew we could use the terms whales. I knew something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
Something was going on. I just was in denial, and I just wasn't like. Every time you brought it up, it just made me distance it. If you brought it up too many times, I just cut you out of my life. You know what I mean, or whatever. Like, right. You know what I mean. If I could, if not, I just would just be, you know, whatever. But I just finally we had a couple guests that came on, and I remember just like I don't think I've still went over the whole website. I mean, I pulled it up because we have a quote for Save a Warrior that's on there that we always bring up, but I did not look at the website. I just went to submit it and just like I think like 4 or 5 times I went through it and I was like, I'm not gonna do that, and finally lied my ass off on it, but
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, because I didn't want people like I was like well, because I was in denial about a lot of the stuff too. I mean, when I say lying, and I was in denial, like and I was like, hey, if I say this, if I'm really fucked up, then these people are gonna like, I can't be that fucked up,
Right?
Because they're not gonna want to have anything to do with me. They're gonna be like, holy shit, because I haven't, like you before, like I have still not talked to anybody, and I have my VA claim, and I just haven't, I'm dragging ass on it, but I haven't told anybody about PTSD, the VA. I just was like, I'm okay. I just got to do it now. I'm perfectly fine at doing it now. But when I did that, I was like, holy shit, this is, if they really see me, how fucked up I am, there's no way they're going to let me in this place. That's how I was.
Yeah. I kind of had that feeling too,
Yeah.
But I'm reading that thing, and I started filling out the application. I got halfway through it. My ego kicked in and was like, fuck these guys. Quit being a pussy. Right. And I go home, and I think it was like a week, and Jen and I were fighting like every week, more than once a week. And, something, and I got that whole suicidal ideation going on again. And I'm like, nah, that website, so I went back to it. Of course I couldn't find it like right away. Like in the browser history at work was like cleared out for some reason. So I'm like, it's warrior something, it's not wounded warrior. So I found it again, filled out the application, but I had this whole thing, like I'm waiting for the window to pop up, and it's going to say, give us $19.95 and we'll send you this 10-page booklet on how not to kill yourself, and this really cool sticker. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
And then my email goes off, and it's like, oh, here it is. And I open that up, and they're like, hey, your rostering call is scheduled for such and such time. I'm like, okay, when are they going to ask me for money?
Yeah.
And I got my rostering call with Jake Ware.
Me too.
And they tell you set aside 45 minutes of uninterrupted time that you can be vulnerable and open. Right. Well, I went and parked like way up in the woods in the game lands. I was in my work truck at the time, and I had that conversation with Jake Ware, and it was like an hour and a half long.
Have you met Jake before?
I've never met Jake. I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. It's one of the guys that I haven't met yet.
Yeah, like I'm gonna give that dude the biggest hug ever.
Like, me too. It's like,
so I cried my eyes out, and I kept telling him, like, I'm too fucked up for this. I'm too fucked up for this. He's like, cool, man. He goes, we're all fucked up. He's like, and that's okay. He's like, we got you, and I got my date in September of 2022, and I drove out the night before and stayed at a hotel, because I was like, man, if I try driving out there that morning, I'm gonna turn around. I told Jen about it right away. I told my therapist at the vet center about it. My therapist at the vet center is like, good, go. She's like, you need to get in touch with your inner child. Yeah, it's
always powerful. Like whenever, because there's a part we know when they always ask, like we're asking you about it, where we find out about it, but it's all like when I hear that, when people are saying like therapists are talking about it, I am like, fuck yeah, like because it's because what people don't understand is, and we're talking about complex PTS here. So if you're talking about the VA, that's not something they talk about in the VA, right? You can't talk about anything that happened to you before you were in service, because that jeopardizes money, and the VA is looking for these to get out. So but I'm with you. We obviously are together in this, because we're in the rooms together like multiple nights a week. But that's the fucking thing that the VA is missing. Like that's the one thing that separates all of this.
Right.
Like they just, you weren't, that's the thing, is like, I rarely have conversations with any men now that have to do with something that happened in service.
Very little.
Yeah. It's something like, it's maybe 10% of what I talk to men about.
If that. And it's usually brought up kind of in part of something else that's going on. It's just something that happened in the timeline.
Because that was the thing too, like that conversation with Jake Weir is like, I was like the same thing. I'm like, first of all, I was thinking, I'm gonna like, whatever, dude. I didn't even pull away. I was like, I'm just gonna take this phone call on my way home. Fuck these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. That did not work out for me, because I had to pull into a gas station and have that. And then I was like, and I was just shocked at what we were talking about. Cause I was like, when are we going to start talking about what happened? And
in uniform,
in service. Yeah. It was like in the warrior class, and there was nothing about that. And I was just like,
he's like, tell me about your childhood. How's your relationship with your dad? How's your relationship with your mom? How's your relationship with your rest of your family? Yeah. What did they go through? It's like, wow, those are all questions that those are all, we don't talk about that. Those are my dad saying, we don't talk about what goes on in this family.
Yeah, we're not supposed to talk about this, but it is a while. And I don't want to scare anybody that listens to this that doesn't know what we're talking about. It's a life-changing thing to do. It's absolutely the conversation you were waiting to have. That's what was shocking about it. I didn't even know I had such a hunger for that they knew exactly what I needed to talk about, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I just had it happen this week with Joe, Rob. And I'll throw this out there, you know, like you and I are both, you know, have come back from men and we continue to, you know, work with men, but like, you know, we don't have our shit on straight all the time either. I don't have it. Like I struggle just like these guys do. And I was talking to him and it was like so quickly how there's guys like Joe, there's like, and I don't want to say that I'm the same way too. Like you are now, like we know he knew exactly what to ask me to get exactly what needed to come out. It was like such a crazy thing. And like, it was like, you know, me and you know, just, you know, 20 feet from here crying.
Mm-hmm.
That had something to do with like years ago that happened to me. Like that was like something that was holding on. That's what it came down to. Like, that's what we need to talk about as men and as women, these are the things that are holding us back, that these parts of us that are still struggling, that don't know how to deal with things that are happening, that are trying to make up for things we didn't do. Okay, I mean, make them right again. You know, that's the whole kind of shit. But it's like that conversation is crazy because it was Saber Warrior was nothing I thought it was going to be, but everything I was looking for. That's the way. That's the way. I don't know if I ever said that on camera or whatever, but I don't even think I've said that before. But it's like I had no idea but it's everything I was looking for. The conversation, like you started talking earlier about the philosophical stuff, the inner thinking, like this is stuff that I never knew that I had
I never knew
a thirst for. Like I have a thirst for all these things that I never ever understood. Like that it was like, it just hit me. I was like, holy shit, I've always had this on my mind. Like these things, there's been this thought, this connection that's been going on. I just didn't know how to bring it all together. And that's what it did. Just brought it. I was like, holy shit, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But this is exactly everything I was looking for. And it hasn't, you know, I haven't looked back since, either of you, obviously, but.
Well, now it's like I have this gnawing desire to learn more about myself, learn more about my inner self, learn about, you know, the side of me I was always told to put away, my feelings, and, you know, and understand not only where I came from, but where I'm going, but then also getting in these books and reading all these really amazing things, but then also the community. I mean, the community is the best part. The fact that every morning I wake up and my phone's blowing up with, you know, guys texting me, you know, or having conversations. And sometimes it's most of the times it's pretty just light, chill, fun stuff. But when we need something, any one of us, we all huddle in together and get somebody through it. You know, it's like, it never fails.
Yeah, it's a true community. I mean, I think it's, you know, when you talk about like that final initiation that we're looking for as men and women, right? This is, you know, the initiation I was looking for my entire life, right? That happened. But the community is there. It's if you really need, like, it comes to definition. I was talking to Josh earlier before, like, it's what your definition is alone. Like, I don't think I have, like, I used to think I have all these people I could talk to before. Yeah. Like, but now that has shrunk. Right. Who I think to talk to. I mean, I have that community, but like, it's like you said before, like I can click on my phone and put Saul and like how many contacts come up, and I can actually dial into those numbers. I know there's probably like 15 of them. And if I dial that number, I'm going to get a call. Maybe some of them, they may not answer, but right away, but like that community to be able to talk to things and like to be able to really be your honest and true, authentic self is kind of is what,
right.
You know, I've never honestly in the 2 years, anything that I've said to anybody, because I was guilty of this before, right? 100%. If you told me something, I was like, please tell me your deepest, darkest secrets, Jason, so I could use them against you whenever I need to.
Yeah. Nobody does that.
Yeah. Like, oh, please tell me more.
Right.
What don't you want anybody to know? Oh, I won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Unless you fuck with me or unless
your secret.
Don't worry about it. God, I can't wait for Jason to leave so I can tell Josh what he just told me. Yeah, and that was going on. And like for now, it's like but that's never happened yet. I'm still waiting for the part of me is still waiting for it. I know, but part of me is still but that's the thing, is like those things that I say to people, like I don't have any of those. Like that's always it's funny because that is the one thing that I did. I can't tell you how many people I fucked over by that. By taking getting someone's secrets and being like, I won't use them against you. And all I used it for was like,
because we fed on drama. We fed on,
no, I know, yeah, 100%.
on,
But that, like, I would just like, it's almost like I had a bag carrying around to be like, okay, when I need to get rid of Jason, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to grab this nugget.
Little black book. Everyone,
I'm going to get this little nugget and I'm going to fucking put it out there, and he's done.
And that's just the thing, I'm almost certain you've probably done it too. You shared something with somebody and you're expecting them to like make a face or like really, you're that fucked up, but it doesn't happen. These guys are just like, okay, cool, I'll hold that for you, and you're like, all right.
I think it comes down to like a couple things. Like we talked about, like Return to Love, the quote I threw up there before, which is a huge book, but like, and for me, and it's been hitting me more, I think, in the past, like, you and I haven't talked about, we'll talk more off camera, obviously, but like coming in touch with my higher power, like really understanding what, like, that I have a higher power, right? And then also really kind of understanding what like the definition of love you brought up on a meeting last night about it. And like that to really be out for like I didn't know what love was. I had love and pity, like I didn't know what love was. Love looked really scary. Like it was scary for me. It was like what I thought I loved. It just wasn't the right definition for me now. But the spiritual growth of others, right? That drives me a lot when it comes to love, to be like, to have this. And that's what I think is great about the community, is like, there's so many people that are out for my spiritual growth, not about what all these things achieved, what's going on with my spiritual growth. And with my spiritual growth has opened up all these other things, if that makes sense. Amen. And that's what I found in the community. I've never had that before, because there are people that are really out for what is good for me. Right. Like you said, they're not judging me. They're listening to me. They're not trying to fix me. Yeah. All the things that I used to do, which is funny. That's all that's why I'm saying it's the complete opposite of what I thought it'd be. It was eye-opening experience, because it contradicts everything that I was doing in the past.
Yeah, it does. It's a reversal of thought. It's a new way of thinking. And man, it just feels really freaking good. To not be caught up in drama, to not be caught up in a story, to not have a war story, have to live in a war story, to not have to try to one up another guy, to just come at people and myself from a place of love, to just be able to just be with my true self, and then I'm able to go through books like the one you're looking at, the Coda book, Codependence Anonymous. I'm able to go through that and be honest with myself about the things that are in there. The Laundry List Workbook, the Loving Parent Guide book. Yeah. Those manuals have all taught me so many things. And it's like so many aha moments. And was I stuck along the way? Yeah, I got stuck along the way. There's parts of it that didn't make any sense. But as I came back around it, or I got further in it, I was able to come back with it. Or another man was able to share his story, his experience, and it clicked something with me. And that's a recovery. I've been able to get more out of traveling this work with other men, and it's like, listen, these dudes are the most solid people. My wife and I had this conversation. If somebody from my family pulled in my driveway, I'd be so riddled with anxiety. But if somebody from Save a Warrior, like one of my soft
because I've been super excited for you to come stay. Like it was like
I'd be like,
Janet was asking a bunch of questions about you. I was like, don't worry about Jason. He's a SAW guy. He's fine. You know what I mean? And then. Yeah, I mean, like, she's like, but like, where does he live? And I'm like, he's a SAW guy. Don't worry about it. He's fine. And she's like, and I'm just like, don't worry about it. And I wanted to be like, he's sleeping like 20 feet. We should know him. He's fine. He's a SAW guy. Don't worry about it. He's gonna be fine. It's such a crazy thing. It's a different mentality. But I mean, the big thing is, I think, is just like the reversal thought, just like being able to like not pretend anymore, and then like. The things for me is like, I think I read this to you before, like that you said the insanity. My life was insanity before. Huh. And so it was like crazy. Like when I like the fact that I know where to go on this, like the 12-step book is so funny, because I used to think the 12-step stuff was a bunch of fucking mumbo jumbo. Oh, yeah. And, but I was like, I share this, I think last night on the call with you, is like, number 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And I was always looking for that. And that's what this conversation has done for me, to be able to be like, my life isn't insanity anymore.
No, it's not. Me too.
It still has chaos in it, but it's not insanity. I'm not walking around like I'm not like this, because there's parts of me, man, like the world's not an easy place. I mean, I don't want to say it's chaos, but I don't know if that's the right word, but like everything doesn't go great all the time in my life. But I'm not walking around and saying, I'm not walking around creating the fucking half of the problems I'm having, like 90% of the problems I have in my life anymore.
I realized most of the problems that I thought I had were generally me catching on to somebody else's problems.
Yeah, I was the cause of all my problems.
Right.
Like 90% of my problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What is my role in my own suffering?
Yeah.
Generally, it was pretty hardcore. I spent 46 years living in chaos.
Yeah. And I was exhausted. Like, that's the thing too, is like, I was so exhausted. I was, like I look at Josh a lot because he sits over there, and he's a guy I knew me like prior to Save a Warrior. And I was like, there's a part of it, like when I look at him, I was like, how the fuck did he stick around? Like, honestly, because I was a fucking awful friend. I mean, sometimes. Yeah, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is I look around and I'm just like, holy shit. Like, I'm thankful but I also understand, like, but that's the hardest part about this.
Yeah.
Is the transformation recovery for any, like, however you want to, like, I'm in the transformation stage by far, right? And I'll probably be in that for the rest of my life. But realizing that I'm the cause of my problem, 90% of my problems, right, every day. My thoughts, my actions, my actions, those two things. My thoughts, my actions, everything. And that's hard for people to realize. That's hard for you to be like, wow, Josh isn't the problem. I'm the fucking problem.
Yeah.
And that takes, and that's what's great about this community is, like, when you realize that there's a bunch of men that are like, wow, me too. And women, me too. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's like, there's just an acceptance, like knowing that I'm not the only person that was, doing that. Yeah.
My people nowadays are men and women that are in recovery, that are true and honest with themselves. There's people in this community my old self would not have got along with,
Yeah.
And man, I trust them. I trust them and love them more than anybody in that I know right now. Right. And that alone has been a wonderful transformation, that I'm not judgmental of people anymore.
Yeah. Cause I mean, it's funny you said, because I have it now that, like,
except you.
I have it. That it's funny because that extension to other people is only because I now can accept and love myself.
Absolutely.
So I never like people that I have this conversation with people all the time that don't, and I'll have the conversation for as long as I'm alive, that people don't understand. They're like, oh my gosh, no, like, what do you mean, like, that pre-stall, like, oh, you loved yourself? I'm like, bro, I didn't.
No,
I hated myself.
I did, absolutely.
Like, I hated every, like, I'm not even, like, I mean, maybe I could find something to be happy about or love myself, but I fucking hated myself. So therefore, how can I, like, look at you, mm-hmm, like even my wife or my kids, and be like, I really love you, and I don't love me? Like,
I didn't know what to feel.
Yeah. It was such a weird thing. So now that I have that, because the one thing is I never learned to, like, love myself unconditionally, because, like, honestly, like, when it comes to the 12 steps up with code is when, like mind blowing to me when it comes to, like, higher powers. Like, I just did something where they asked us to write down, like, pros and cons of your positive religious experiences as kids, and your negative. Right. So I actually started with negative and then positive. And I was like, the negative, I was just like, you could, like, blow through, like, sure, my God was a vengeful, angry God. Right. Mm-hmm. I, like, my experiences, like, these people were, like, judgmental as fuck, even when you were in the tribe.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you weren't in their tribe or their religion, they were really judgmental. Yeah. Right. You watch religious people doing the opposite of what they said they were going to do.
Do as they say, not as they do.
I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
And then, so they would, like, it was just like this. And then it was like pages of, like, negative stuff. And I was like, what is your positive things of religion? And I was like, nothing. Like, I couldn't think of anything that was positive about religion. Right. But then what ended up happening is, like, I turned my back on God, or my higher power, like to say, and then I became my own higher power. Mm-hmm. Then I expected you to be my higher power, him, my wife, my kids, all these other people. And it's just been like that. Now that I love myself, accept myself, it's flawless to, like, yeah, it's not flawless. It's like, it's so fluid to accept others for who they are now. Like I really, like you said before, like what sparked me is like you said, like people that I wouldn't have got along with before.
Yeah.
But I don't find myself being judgmental of people. I mean, yeah, I get rackety and I have that kind of some things, but in general, I just can look at people and just be like, I'm okay with it. Like I'm the dude walking around with purple hair and knee-high boots.
None of that bothers me.
I'm like, yeah,
you know, and I was so tied into politics. I was so tied into, you know, extreme right, this, that, everything else. That was my identity. This is the way it's got to be. And, you know, I woke up every morning too. Like, how is today going to fuck me? How is this going to be the worst day of my life? Yeah. Right. And, you know, not be able to look in the mirror and fucking hate myself. Right. And just degrade everything that I could possibly get on. And just like we talked about it last night, you know, that scenario, basing, you know, having a plan for every time we walked around a corner of how somebody is going to do us wrong, how somebody is going to make us wrong, how we're going to attack somebody, how we're going to defend ourselves. And now that any of that has gone out of my life, man, I would make the clerk at the gas station wrong for something. You know, he's looking at me weird. You know, I don't need to do that anymore. Now I'm just chill and laid back and realizing that half the stuff that I was making up in my head was just that. It was my ego talking. It was some part of me that was afraid of something. So
I want to be clear that I do get rackety and some of those things do bother the piss out of me still sometimes. But the thing is now
but you catch yourself.
Yeah, when it does, right? I call somebody. I'm like, hey, I gotta tell you why I want to kill Jason. Right. But like, but you just get it off, and like once you speak about it, like it's gone. Like, and then the other part about it is I don't bring all that shit. The other part about it is I was bringing that into like every conversation with my wife and Jot, like he's over there. Everyone's like, it's fucking like I think back, like that's the part when I look back and I'm like, that's why I look at Josh. I'm like, how the fuck, dude? What is wrong with Josh that he stuck around? I'm like, because it was exhausting. Because I was exhausting myself. You know what I mean? Because I'd walk away and be like,
a couple like a week ago, I put a screw through my thumb. I was at my buddy's hobby shop. We're building this model railroad layout, and I drove this screw right through my thumb. And I'm like, I just stop and look at it, or like hell, I look at it, and my two buddies that are not Save a Warrior guys, you know, but they've been with me. They're not first responders, not veterans. They're just looking at me like they know the old me. And then one guy that's a SAW alumni, he's just sitting there like he gets it. He knows I'm not going to do anything. I just back it out, and I'm just like, ow. Yeah. But my two buddies were like, man, old you would have like flipped the fucking table over, screamed, yelled, blamed us, fucking lost your shit. And they're like, they're still 3 years later. Like, I mean, there's echoes of things that I do, but the difference is I now know the effect. Like I'm conscious of the effects they have on others. And I'm really cognizant, like I like the term we use, like catch myself, you know what I mean? Catch myself. Like if I do it now, like I'm very quick to be like, okay, instead of like walking up and have that conversation, like if you would have done this, I wouldn't like, it's just like, hey, I apologize. I should not have done that or whatever. Right. And that's key to a lot of things. Cause like it was never my fault before Save a Warrior. Like if I screwed up, it was like, because you didn't do what I told you to do when I told you to do it, how to do it. Right. And then you didn't read my mind of how I changed it in my mind since the last time you did it, how you should be doing it. It was just like, I just keep looking at Josh for some reason, how exhausting it was. It was like, and that's the difference. I mean, because I think it's important, like, you know, if someone, because there are some guys that we're traveling with right now, some of the newer guys out of the container, right. It isn't all fucking sunshines and rainbows. These echoes come back. But the difference is when I act, the other thing too, is when that happens, like you're not sitting far away from, like, you know, the people can't see on the screen, but there's couches back there. Like I would do something, I would come down here and there would be such shame and anger for how I acted. I was like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I'm like, why am I acting this way? Right. I would beat myself up. I'd grab a bottle of whiskey here, kick my own ass. Yeah. And just beat the shit out of myself for hours and days, if not about. But now if it happens, I just go like, okay, I didn't handle it the way I wanted to handle it. Yeah.
I'm gonna fix it
I'm
the
gonna call
next time.
somebody.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix it. If I can't fix it myself, I'm sure as fuck gonna call somebody and get to the root. Like, help me get through this. And that's a key thing.
And sometimes all it takes is making that phone call.
Yeah.
You know, and just saying it out loud to another guy, and them going, okay, cool.
Them saying it back to you, and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
like you're like, yeah, okay, hey, I feel better.
I'm gonna go right now. No, I'm joking. No, it's not. Yeah, it is definitely. I mean, we could talk hours about this, and I think we're approaching the 220 mark, so we gotta bring it in because Josh will start giving us.
Josh is over there falling asleep.
He'll just like stop in the broadcast on us. He hasn't done that yet, but one more question I have, because I think it's important. So I had two questions I want to throw. So I'm trying to figure out which one I want to do. So I'm going to go with this one because I haven't asked anyone this one. I think it's a good one for you. So what misconceptions do people have about complex PTS that you think they need to know about?
Ooh, jeez. You should have told me this before. What misconceptions? I think a lot of people don't even know what complex post-traumatic stress is. I didn't know what it was. You know, what's the C in front of the PTS and the D that we don't say?
Yeah.
Once you start getting into that, that's the thing nobody talks about. I don't, whether you're in law enforcement or a first responder or in the military, people still don't talk about the childhood trauma part of it, you know, and then those two things, us serving in some sort of a uniform, and then that formative trauma all collapsing on top of itself and trying to muddle through it. People don't know that that's there. I didn't know that was there. That's an additional layer on top of something that I'm in denial of PTSD. Now you're going to throw another layer on top of it that been told my whole life that I don't talk about. This dishonors the family, this dishonors, and then throw another layer on top of it of, well, I've got 3 kids and a wife, and I've added another layer of trauma on top of that. So it's even more complex at that point. You got what happened before, you got what happened after is currently going on. And, you know, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had more often.
Yeah, I think it's a term that like a lot of, because we've talked about it before in our communities. It's not even an official diagnosis in the United States, which is kind of interesting. But because I have it now that I look back at it, is like when you look at all the people that are struggling, like I said earlier, is all the men that I talked to, and we talked to a lot of men about this, is it's nothing to do with, it's not nothing. It's such a small percentage of what happened when we were in uniform in the warrior class. It's something that happened. And the misconceptions, I think a lot of people I have is like that question. When I was like, what's my misconception? I think a lot of people think that the misconception is that everybody got through, because I used to think that I got through a traumatic childhood unscathed.
Right. Me too.
I thought it was like, yeah, I dodged whoop, whoop, and realized I was just taking fucking, it's like a samurai, the Last Samurai movie. Just, I was taking arrows. They all were in me. Like, and I think that's the thing, is I think for complex PTS is to be, you know, it's heavy for a lot of people to think about. I get it, because I didn't want to talk about it.
No, me neither.
But once I talked about it, once it was out in the open, once I talked about it in a safe place, it didn't have a hold of me anymore. It lost the thing. So like, I think that's the biggest thing, is like people to say like, oh yeah, whatever happened to me, it only made me stronger.
Yeah.
It only made me better what I went through. Yeah. Okay. Me too. I thought that too.
I had that done to me.
Yeah.
And I turned out all right. Yeah.
And I really think like you, I think you do as what the work we do with Saber Warrior, like you're a ambassador like I am, doing the lead shepherding now. But the big thing is like the ambassador program is like, I think for me at least, I believe that complex PTS is the reason why we're not winning the fight on
absolutely
veteran warrior class, because we're still focused on, you know, what happened as a police officer, what happened as a fireman, what happened as a soldier, an airman, and we're not going back to, you know, I don't want to use terms that people know, but like that, the first break, those breaks in infinity that really shaped us to who we were. I mean, and I think that's the big misconception for me, is like, yeah, I got through this. I'm fine with what happened to me. I'm okay with, I have no problems with my parents getting divorced when I was 14.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to be
You know what I
open
mean?
to that too.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it's scary. It's fucking scary as shit to start talking about that stuff.
right.
And it's hard. Like, you know, like my dad is usually sitting there, so it's like it's really hard for me to be 10 feet from him and talk about this stuff, because I know there's a part of him that's like, did this really happen? Did I really do this?
Right.
Yeah, you know, I mean, yeah. Guess what? I did the same thing to my kids.
But see, when I go out and do the ambassador work, you know, and I'm talking to veterans, I'm talking to the first responders, and you know, yeah, that's the first thing they want to start talking war stories, and I tell them about a little bit of the complex side, a little bit of that. I get vulnerable with the other stuff, and right away you watch them change, and then you know you catch the tears going, and you're like, yeah, that happened too, huh?
Yeah.
And it's okay, you know, and then they open up to you because they can kind of see that you're a safe person, and they're willing to talk to you. Next thing you know, you're off in the corner having a conversation with them, you know, whether they hit the submit button or not. You know, we know what happens 10 minutes after they drive away. You know, the ego kicks back in.
Yeah, the ambassador thing's interesting because you would have that conversation. Like, it's like I'm the same. Like, I have this conversation whether I'm an ambassador. I feel like I'm an ambassador role all the time, right?
Yeah.
About it, but like when people have it, like I start talking about stuff, and people are like, oh no, that's not how you. I got somebody tell me that they're like, that's not how you really feel. That's not really happening. I'm like, no, like you're not like. And I finally was like, listen, I know you're uncomfortable by what I'm telling you. I'm not.
Right.
Like, I'm not uncomfortable.
I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I'm totally uncomfortable. I'm comfortable with what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
So just because you like, and that's like, maybe you're what you're being uncomfortable about, you should be curious about that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about this is like that, you know, and that I haven't asked anybody that question because a lot of people that come on don't really have the term or aren't engrossed into complex PTS like we are.
And as soon as I start getting into those things, everything that happened in service, everything that happened in uniform, a lot of it starts to make sense.
Yeah.
You know, I was put in those situations because a lot of that's the thing behind the thing, right? It's what got.
Well, yeah, it just goes back. We could talk for hours about this. It's like once you go, like, I mean, like I never knew what the fuck a boundary was.
Right. All I knew is somebody would tell me they had a boundary.
I knew the boundary was I'm gonna cross it. Yeah, like you're not gonna do that. Oh, watch this. You're gonna do that. But yeah, like we're not allowed to do this. I only knew the boundaries were meant to be broken.
Right.
Or I was gonna push to the point of, you know, and it's just crazy. Like it's
the first time somebody told me no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
right. Wow. Choose. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
so,
choose versus decide.
But we'll be able to talk more. So anything else you want to talk about? It's your episode.
Man,
episode 86.
Man, we could go on till the sun come up. You know, no, I mean, I'm grateful for this experience to come and talk to you. You know, Save a Warrior it saved my life. That's all there is to it. I wouldn't be here. I'm going to be 50 in March. You know, I was told in 46 I wasn't going to make it. Yeah, I'm going to make it. You know, it's programs like SrA that's gotten me to go do other things. You know, I used to be afraid of going out and putting myself out there, going out, and you know, I used to always be afraid of what people thought of me or what. Man, I take my car to the track. I drive. I have fun. I go out on adventures by myself.
Fast enough, but that's
I drive fast enough. I'll take you on the track sometime. You know, I got another organization, you know, Vet Motorsports, that's put me out on the track. You know, they've paid my way a couple times. Man, I could talk about them for an hour. But that's just, I've been able to just go out and be free and be me, you know, true me, like the true, not the person I thought I had to be, not the person I thought other people wanted me to be, the true inner child. Like that psychologist told me, get in touch with that inner child and play. We talked about that at the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a different definition of play. Yeah, man, I played, I had fun, but I wasn't being present. Now I'm present when I go and do stuff. When I go and do stuff, I'm there. I'm dialed in. I'm taking in every moment of it. Because, yeah, I don't know when I'm going to freaking not be on this planet. So I could be done 10 minutes from now. So I'm going to make the best of the life. Yeah, me too. But I'm going to be, I'm going to make the best of it. Yeah, right. I'll haunt your house. But you know what I mean? I'm going to be there the whole way. So, and that's something. I got my life back by going to Save a Warrior, a life I didn't even know I had. Yeah. So, yeah.
I appreciate. We didn't even have time to talk about how you hated me, but we'll talk about that later. But
I didn't hate you.
No, I'm joking around. It's I can't thank you for coming in. It's I'm glad you made the trip and looking forward to hanging out with you after.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll tell Jan a little bit about you, where you live. Maybe we don't know.
Make her feel better.
Yeah.
Don't tell
Janet
her
tonight will be locking the door.
Don't tell her.
He's a saw guy. Don't worry about it. But she didn't give you a hug. She gave Josh a hug. You see that? She was like very formal with you. She was like, "Hello." No, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your story. And I could talk for hours. This is the kind of conversations that I live for now. And thanks for making the trip.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know this is out of your comfort zone, so
not really. No.
It's getting better though. I mean, newer. The old you.
The old me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No,
I had some hesitation about it. You were a little. You said you had a little bit of hesitation, but I'm glad you fought through flew through the flutter.
Yeah. Flew through the flutter.
Yeah, flew through the flutter.
Yeah, see, I'm all about that these days.
And
I didn't cry, man. I thought I was going to cry.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. You want to keep? We can cry.
Oh,
later.
We can get it.
We'll cry later. We'll cry later.
All right, cool.
We'll do that. So, you're good. You think nothing else you want to talk about? You sure?
You just told me we got a time limit.
I'm just giving you one last thing. Josh is on the time, so I'm just giving you one last thing. So
I am
tonight, we'll roll into the part I hate the most about each podcast, and tonight we'll honor a service member who unfortunately took their life. Tonight we're going to honor U.S. Air Force Tech Sergeant David G. Gwendon, 48. David took his life on August 18th, 2004 in Merrimack, New Hampshire. David was born April 21st, 1956 in Springfield, New Hampshire. David graduated from West Springfield High School in 1974 and enlisted in the United States Navy. David served aboard the USS Forrestal and later transferred to the Naval Reserves. He later graduated and received his bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Westfield State College. David also served in the United States Marine Corps Reserve, the Air Force Reserve, the New Hampshire Army National Guard. David's last served with the New Hampshire Air National Guard, 156th Air Refueling Wing, where he deployed to Iraq. While in Iraq, David was attached to the 2632 2nd Air Expeditionary Force Truck Company that provided security for Army convoys. David was a former member of the Mela Shrine in Springfield, New Hampshire, and a longtime member of the Boy Scouts of America. David was a licensed aviation helicopter pilot. David enjoyed spending his time in his garage tinkering with his cars and various things that he collected. David is survived by his wife Sharon, daughter Ashley, mother Dorothy, brothers Mark, Peter, and Thomas, sister Mary, his companion Scout, and numerous other relatives and friends. And please, if you or someone you know is in crisis and might be considering suicide, please contact the Veterans Crisis Line at 988, or you can dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1 or text 838-255, or you can now chat online at veteranscrisisline.net/chat. I don't have another quote from Marianne, but this one's from Maya Angelou. And I thought about this when both these quotes are obviously I thought about you when I was doing them and the work we're doing. So I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I thought that I've watched some of the conversations we've had with the men we've worked with together, and I think that's something that rings true about you. You always make all these guys feel really good about themselves, myself included. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And I love you.
I love you.
That's the first time I said I love you tonight. I thought we were saying that more often. Yeah, we got one more episode going into the year. I think we do, because I might have misread whether this guy is coming or not, but we'll figure it out. We'll find someone December 18th. Or we might have Josh up here for a year in review podcast. So let's think about that. Josh is about to make his
put him in the seat.
He needs to come back, and he's like, no, we'll figure it out. But I think we got one more episode. If not, we'll see everybody January 15th. But I'm pretty sure we'll see everybody in a couple weeks. But I do want to thank you for coming on, Jason. It's always powerful to sit across from other men that are in the work like I am, and seeing how you've transformed. The time that I met you early this year, right? To now, yeah, and how our relationship has grown, and I'm couldn't be more thankful to have men like you in my life, and have you in particular in my life. So I love you. I appreciate that. This concludes episode 86 with Pours with Patriots. Until next time, be kind to yourself. honor the stories of the veterans and first responders. And remember, when you sit down with a patriot, the conversation is different. We'll see everybody in a couple weeks. Thanks.